The blue sky rises above the treetops. The man shouts Zhao Tianlei's name, and then tells him that Shen Xinyu is the beauty of their university, and he dares to think about talking to her even with his poverty. He orders him to be beaten, and then says that the toad wanted to eat swan meat. 3 men kick the main character. A man with a ring on his index finger raises his palm and tells 3 men that enough is enough. Lingmu, a student at Huazhong Business College in Yuzhou City, comes from a wealthy family. He looks at the beaten guy with a gloomy look and tells him that this is all for the sake of their classmates. He steps on the main character's torso. Lingmu, with an embittered expression on his face, says that if he finds out that the main character is approaching her, he will break his legs. Bully leaves with 3 of his subordinates. The main character removes the dirt from his torso and tells himself to calm down because he will take revenge on them. He adds that if he is late, his tuition for that semester will be forfeited. Zhao Tianlei, student at Huazhong Business School, Yuzhou City. Orphan, works and studies. Near his foot lies a glowing ring with a blue stone. The main character sits on the ring and screams loudly, which scares the birds. The main character holds on to the sore spot and says that this is not the first time they pester him and it is very painful. The main character hears a voice that says that Master Zero has been activated and is awaiting scanning. Zhao Tianlei asks who is saying this. He turns back and looks at the ring. The voice from the ring says that the main character can call him a virtual god and he communicates with him through the ring on his hand. He adds that the protagonist is a man chosen by the virtual gods and from now on Zero is his code name, and in 16 hours a virus will spread across the earth and his mission is to kill zombies and save humanity. The protagonist made a perplexed expression on his face. He picks up the ring and looks at it and then asks the virtual god which MLM company he is from. He notices that the ring calls him a savior and suggests that as long as he pays for the ring, he can pretend to save the world. He throws the ring on the ground and asks the virtual god if he really thinks he is a fool. The voice from the ring says that if the main character puts on the ring, he will be able to prove what he said. The main character makes a dissatisfied expression on his face. He puts the ring on and tells him to see what he can do. The virtual god announces the start of the scan. The main character is in the middle of the blue space of the system. He asks what this feeling is. The virtual god from the ring announces the completion of the scan. The main character's eyes glow blue. The buildings are on fire and there is a lot of smoke around. There are many zombies on the road that attack people. The zombie has grabbed the man and is approaching his face with his mouth open. The guy covers his face, a shadow covers him. The large zombie opens its mouth wide. Zhao Tianlei opens his eyes wide. He looks at his ring and asks what that just happened. The virtual god informs the main character that this is information about the end of the world, which he has stored in his memory. The protagonist makes a frightened expression on his face. With an angry expression on his face, he tries to take off the ring and asks the virtual god what he is talking about and what kind of zombies he is talking about. He adds that this is a joke and he doesn't believe it. The ring on the main character's hand begins to glow red and the virtual god says twice that once the ring is put on, the owner cannot remove it himself, otherwise there will be a danger to life. The main character clenched his fist and the virtual god asks the main character if he believes him and adds that after the ring is put on, it connects to the owner, so it is better for him not to try to commit this suicide again. The protagonist tells the virtual god that he has won, and then adds that he has never even killed a chicken. Asks the voice if he really wants to force him to fight these creepy zombies. Zhao Tianlei opened his eyes wide, and the virtual god told him that since he was chosen by the system, of course he would not be left with anything. The voice asks the protagonist to gently rub the ring to open up the storage space inside the ring. The main character rubs the ring and thinks he's starting. A dark box appears in front of the main character. The virtual god says that in this space there is an exchange system, and inside there are resources and weapons. He adds that the vault has a purchasing system, and resources can be purchased by killing zombies, gaining experience and using equal experience and cores. Zhao Tianlei made a surprised expression. The bottle glows red neon. The virtual god says that in addition, inside there is a bottle with liquid for the evolution of viruses, which can help improve physical condition and improve abilities. But the main character must keep in mind that the evolution liquid can only work if there is a zombie virus in the body, and if a person injects it into himself, he will become a zombie. The main character touches the vault and asks if he really has to be bitten by a zombie before he injects this thing and what will happen if he dies because of this serum. The virtual god informs the main character that if he is killed by a zombie, the evolutionary liquid of the virus will have no effect. The main character looks at the ring and a voice from the ring reports that the information has been transmitted and the system is about to fall asleep. The protagonist asks the virtual god not to sleep and adds that he has not understood everything yet. He has a frightened expression on his face. The evening sky rises above a high-rise building. The main character thought that there were only 16 hours left before the outbreak began and time was running out, and preparations must be made immediately. The main character with a large backpack behind his back enters the room. The man in the t-shirt asks the main character if he went to class, if everything is okay with him, and then adds that he asked him to take a day off from school. Zhao Tianlei replies that he is fine. He puts his backpack on the table and says to listen to him, and then adds that tomorrow the world will end and it will be occupied by zombies, and the school dorm building is the safest place. He lays out the food and says that the best way to avoid the first wave is to hide here and wait until the outbreak occurs to find a way to survive. A blonde guy playing a console and a guy with brown hair pay attention to the main character. The protagonist has a gloomy expression on his face. The blonde man and the guy with brown hair are laughing. A blonde man with a malicious expression on his face asks the main character if he is stupid. A guy with brown hair asks the main character if he has played too many games about zombies and suggests that he has neurosis. The blonde pushes the main character and says that he is bothering him, and then adds that he does not want to be a roommate with such a poor loser, and the air is full of his disgusting smell. The guy with brown hair invites the blonde to go to the internet cafe and adds that they won't be back today. They leave the room, closing the door behind them. The guy in the t-shirt asks the main character how he can say such nonsense. The protagonist calls the guy Wu Bin and tells him that he should listen to him if he considers him a friend. Wu Bin, with a frightened expression on his face, tells the main character that he will listen to him. The entrance to the room is barricaded with chairs. The main character is armed with a broom, and the guy in the t-shirt is armed with 2 small brooms. Wu Bin closes his eyes and falls asleep. Beads of sweat run down his cheek. He tells the main character that it is already dawn and is the main character still waiting. Zhao Tianlei replies that you can't relax right now because the enemies are approaching. Wu Bin gets up and says that he is tired, so he will go to bed. He looks around and asks if Zhang Jun and Li Lion are back. The guy in the t-shirt turns to the main character and tells him that he was really fooled by some strange person and how can there even be zombies here. He leaves the main character. Someone outside the door shouts that this is madness and asks for help. The main character made a wary expression on his face and said that they were coming. Someone is knocking on the door. Wu Bin asks what's going on with a scared expression on his face. He and the main character turn around because of screams from the window. They look out the window of the room. Outside, zombies are attacking people. The guy in the t-shirt falls to the ground and tells the main character that he was telling the truth, that everyone will become zombies. Scared, Wu Bin asks what they should do and whether they will become zombies too. Zhao Tianlei tells the guy to calm down because this is the worst outbreak right now and they just need to hide here until the zombies leave and they can find a way to escape later. The guy in the shirt tells the main character that Zhang Jun and Li Lion are still outside and they should help them. The main character closes his eyes and says that with their current situation, self-defense is a problem. Not to mention that the situation is not clear and searching for them everywhere will only be death. He sits down next to Wu Bin and looking at him says that fortunately, these zombies have not evolved yet and they still have time. Because this morning there is another self-study lesson and everyone must be in class, and they must find a place to hide so that later they were able to escape. The scared guy in the t-shirt says that Shen Xinyu will be filming at the playground this morning, so many people went with her. The main character asks why Shen Xinyu went there with a shocked expression. Wu Bin replies that they say the flight was cancelled due to weather, so the arrangement was temporarily changed. He adds that the main character usually pays no attention, so he thought that he was in the know. The main character lowered his gaze with concern on his face. Wu Bin shouts the name of the main character as he heads towards the entrance. Zhao Tianlei says he thinks there is a fire axe in the corridor on the first floor. The main character has an angry expression on his face and says that it will be easier to fight zombies with him. He puts his hand on the shoulder of the guy in the tank top and tells him not to open the door no matter what, and then says that if he survives, he will come back to him. Wu Bin opened his eyes wide. The protagonist tells him to be careful. Zhao Tianlei reaches for the handle and the guy in the t-shirt says that he will go with him. The main character looks at his roommate. The guy in the t-shirt clenched his fists and asks if they are brothers and adds that he was able to survive thanks to the main character. And now it's his turn to help him and he won't get in the way. The protagonist looks at him with a calm expression on his face. Zhao Tianlei agrees with him and says that he needs to go. There are dim lanterns in the dark corridor. A zombie is walking down the corridor. The protagonist tells the neighbor to remember that fighting zombies is dangerous, and as soon as he gets closer, you need to hit him in the head. The zombie opens his eyes wide because he notices the main character. The protagonist kicks him in the head and says that as soon as he gets closer, he needs to kick him in the head. The zombie falls to the ground. The main character shouts that they must run. They go down the stairs. Zhao Tianlei breaks the glass in the locker. He takes out an axe from there and says that they should go forward. The main character and Wu Bin leave the building. Many zombies are in the square. The main character clenches his teeth and wonders why there are so many of them. The guy in the t-shirt covered his face and said that there are so many rotten people here, and it's unclear who is who. He covers his mouth with his hand and tells the main character to look in the direction he is pointing. He shouts that their classmates are on the podium. Zombies reach out to many people on the podium. The girl with red hair says stop pushing, otherwise they will all fall. Wu Bin points his finger at them and says that the class president is there, and then asks if Shen Xinyu is there in the crowd. The main character opened his eyes wide and wondered what they should do now. He looks at the white car. The main character says that he will go by car and distract the zombies, and the guy in the t-shirt will have to take the opportunity and run away with the escaped students. Wu Bin grabs the main character's hand and tells him that he is taking away so many zombies that it is certain death, and therefore he will go with him. The main character looks at him with a serious expression and tells him to believe in him. He runs to the car and asks the guy in the tank top to find Shen Xinyu if he doesn't come back, and then tells him to remember to help him protect her. The main character almost reached the car. He climbs inside and turns the ignition key. He presses the gas pedal. The main character clenched his teeth with an angry expression on his face. Many zombies are walking towards the car. The main character turns the steering wheel of the car. He knocks down several zombies with it at once. Wu Bin approaches the people on the podium and asks them to come down. People get off the podium and run away. A girl with red hair asks a guy in a t-shirt if he saved them. The guy in the t-shirt says that it was not he who did it, but Zhao Tianlei. The girl with red hair asks Zhao Tianlei if he drove, and then adds that there are so many zombies chasing him that he won't be able to escape. The girl walks towards the car, and Wu Bin drags her by the hand. The girl asks him to let go of his hand because she must help the main character. The guy in the t-shirt tells her that he will only create problems for him. A guy in a t-shirt with drops of sweat on his face tells her that she would rather take everyone to the library while he helps Zhao Tianlei. He adds that they will also go to the library after a while. The red-haired girl tells the guy in the tank top to be careful as he runs away from the survivors. 5 zombies are trying to get inside the main character's car. Behind the zombies is a forest. The main character is hiding in the forest behind a tree with an axe in his hand. He keeps a close eye on the zombies. The hand reaches out to the main character. He grabs the hand and swings the axe at it. It was the hand of a guy in a t-shirt. He shouts that it's him. The main character, with a surprised expression on his face, notices that this is Wu Bin. He tells him that he scared him to death. The guy in the t-shirt lies on the ground and replies that he should be talking. The protagonist asks if his classmates ran away. The guy in the t-shirt replies that the head girl took everyone to the library to take shelter. Drops of sweat run down his face and he calls Zhang Tianlei a good man and a hero, and then adds that if it weren't for him, they would not have been able to escape. The protagonist looks away and says that he is not a hero because he himself was scared to death. Wu Bin asks so what, and the main character with concern on his face asks if he has seen Shen Xinyu. The guy in the tank top shakes his head and says that there were too many people on stage at the time and the situation was an emergency, so he couldn't find her. He adds that the main character shouldn't worry because she has an assistant and a bodyguard, so everything should be fine. A drop of sweat runs down the protagonist's cheek. The main character, looking down, says that the library is large and well locked, but now it is the best refuge, and if there are still living classmates, then we need to help them. Zhao Tianlei peeks out from behind a tree and says that they need to go to the library and meet with their classmates. Evening light illuminates a multi-story building. The main character and Wu Bin run behind the zombies. A guy in a t-shirt trips on a step and makes noise. Zombies pay attention to noise. The main character looks at the guy in the t-shirt and shouts at him to be faster. The main character knocks on the door and asks them to quickly open the door. Someone outside the door shouts at them to get out of here and asks if they really want to bring zombies here. The guy in the t-shirt with a frightened expression on his face shouts that it is him, Wu Bin, and with him Zhao Tianlei, so he asks to open the door because zombies are coming here. The headman with red hair runs up to the door and shouts to the 2 guys at the entrance to let them in. A guy with red hair with purple bangs takes her hand and asks what she is doing and does she really want them to bring zombies here. The girl clenches her fists and tells the guy Kai and Hao the two of them saved them, and will they really leave them now? Wu Bin knocks on the door and asks to open the door because the zombie is already closed. The headman pushes the red-haired guy and tells him to move away. Kai and Hao slaps her cheek with his palm. One of the girls tells Kai and Hao that he has gone too far. Another girl asks if they are a team. Kai and Hao points his finger at the door and tells them that they don't understand that now almost all the zombies are outside, and if you open the door, the zombies will definitely follow them and then they will all die. The two girls made pitiful expressions on their faces. The headman holds the place where she was hit with her palm. She calls Kai and Hao a scoundrel. The red-haired guy pushes her and calls her stupid because they will all die if they let them in. He adds that if she wants to die, then let her die, but let her not do something that will cause others to die. Wu Bin asks the guy how dare he hit the headman and adds that he will kill her when he goes inside. The main character fights off the zombies with an axe and tells the guy in the t-shirt that he needs to stop arguing with them and get out of here. The guy in the t-shirt asks what to do now and where to go. The main character lures the guy with his hand and tells him to follow him. The guy in the t-shirt follows the main character and says that he is very sorry. Wu Bin looked down and said that he was so stupid that he didn't notice right away, which is why they were almost eaten. The protagonist pats him on the back and tells him not to blame himself, because even if they weren't chased by zombies, Kai and Hao wouldn't have opened the doors. They walk through the alley and the protagonist says that this is human nature. Previously everyone despised him, and now the school rules are losing their meaning and the selfishness and ugliness that he hid burst out. Wu Bin looks at the main character with concern. Zhao Tianlei replies that it is because he has always been the target of bullying, so he understands it. The main character looks at his hand and says that Kai and Hao dared to hit the headman, so he will repay him double. The guy in the t-shirt asks what they should do since they can't even get through the door. The main character says that there is no way to enter through the front door, so he can climb through the window. The window to the room is open. The main character lands on the floor. He opens the door to the room. Wu Bin opens the door and looks inside. The main character looks at him and says to come in. Many people are in a spacious room. The dark-haired girl asks the headman if her cheek still hurts. The red-haired girl replies that she is fine. A dark-haired girl with a gloomy look tells Kai and Hao that when he was on the podium and was almost eaten by zombies, Wu Bin and Zhao Tianlei saved them, but he did not even open the door for them. The head girl looked down and said that the reaction of other classmates cooled her heart even more, and if someone had just stood up and said something, then Kai and Hao would not have been so arrogant. But everyone was only worried about themselves. The red-haired guy tells the East Seton prefect not to talk like she's a holy person. He adds that if she is so cool, then why didn't she distract the zombies? The dark-haired girl tells King Hao to stop it and asks him to apologize to the headman. The red-haired guy with an angry expression on his face says that he is warning the girl that he will beat them up if they make him angry. The headwoman clenched her teeth out of anger. King Hao turns to the side because the main character shouted his name. Zhao Tianlei punches the villain on the head. The red-haired guy flies far back. He gets up and asks the main character how they got here. Wu Bin grabs the villain by the shirt and shouts that he can't believe that Kai and Hao didn't open the door for them. Because of him they almost became food for zombies. The red-haired guy with a frightened expression on his face says that he did it to protect his classmates. The villain puts his hand forward and says that these zombies were chasing them and if he had opened the door, everyone would have died. He adds that he did not open the door to save everyone. The main character and the guy in the t-shirt pay attention to the man who said that Kai and Hao is right. The guy with green hair says that they needed to find shelter from zombies. The guy in the brown shirt agrees with him and tells the main character and his friend not to make noise because zombies might come. Wu Bin glares at Kai and Hao and calls him cunning as he takes advantage of his classmates. The red-haired man made a malicious expression on his face. East Seton notes with a happy expression that Zhao Tianlei and Wu Bin are fine. The headman comes up to them and thanks them, because if it weren't for them, everyone would have been eaten by zombies. East Seton, her cheek swollen from the blow, smiles. The main character made a menacing look. He approaches the red-haired guy. He swings his palm towards Kai and Hao's head. He hit the villain on the cheek. The red-haired guy holds his cheek and asks the main character how dare he hit him. The protagonist makes another blow to the villain. Zhao Tianlei, with an axe in his hand, asks King Hao to listen to him. He informs him that the two of them are his replacement and if he even lays a finger on the headman again, he will be chopped into pieces and fed to zombies. Kai and Hao opened his eyes wide in fear. The main character leads the headman and tells her to go. He holds the elder's hand. East Seton blushed realizing that they were holding hands. King Hao holds his cheek and says that he won't get away with this. The main character with Wu Bin and the headman are sitting against the wall. The protagonist looks at his hand. Seaton's cheeks turned red. Woo Bin asks the headman if the place where she was hit hurts, since her face is so red. The girl crossed her arms and said everything was fine. The headwoman lowered her gaze and told the guys that she was sorry that they weren't allowed in, and she couldn't open the doors so they wouldn't get hurt. Woo Bin with an angry expression tells the headman that it is not her fault, but King Hao, who is afraid of dying. Seaton says that she is not worthy of the title of prefect, because she could not even protect her classmates. Zhao Tianlei says that no matter what, she will always be the class president in his heart. Woo Bin agrees with the main character. The girl looks with wide open eyes at the main character. She closes her eyes and cries. The headman covers his eyes with his hands and presses him to the main character. Zhao Tianlei looks at her in surprise. Seaton asks why this is happening to them, and then adds that she is very afraid and does not know when the zombies will attack them. The main character holds her by the shoulders and tells her that he will protect her as long as he lives. The girl smiles and says thank you to the main character. The girl wipes her tears and says that now they don't have a class, so she's uncomfortable when they call her head girl, and therefore asks to call her just Seaton. The main character asks the girl if she has seen Shen Xinyu. The girl thought that she had heard before that Zhao Tianlei loved Shen Xinyu, and that meant it was true. The headwoman opened her eyes wide after the words of the protagonist. She looks at him and thought that he is a good person, so she needs to console him. The girl with a serious expression says that she saw her in the square and adds that Shen Xinyu and her assistant ran away. She asks the main character and Woo Bin to lend her a phone because she is worried about her mom and dad, and after these zombies appeared near the school, she could not reach them. The guy in the t-shirt says that their phones also don't get a signal. A bead of sweat runs down his cheek. The main character says that this zombie outbreak happened not only in their school, but all over the world, and now that zombies are everywhere, communication is most likely blocked. The headman covers his mouth with his hand and asks how her parents are. Zhao Tianlei tells the headman not to worry, because now they are probably hiding and now the most important thing is to protect themselves. He adds that she will have the opportunity to reunite with them. The headman agrees with the main character. The girl with dark brown hair sits on the ground with her eyes downcast. The girl with blue hair crosses her arms and says that she is hungry. The guy with black hair, to whom she is cuddling, says that he is also hungry. A dark-haired guy sitting against the wall tells them that they just want to eat. The guy in the orange shirt suggests that in this case they should go outside and get some food. A guy with black hair with an angry expression on his face replies that they didn't ask him for food and asks what business he has with them. The guy in the orange shirt tells them that they are not the only ones who are hungry and they need to stop whining. Woo Bin asks what is happening, they're watching them. The headman gets up from his seat and says that these people are really not united. The main character takes her hand and tells her to stop. He tells her that there is no use in going there and asks if she forgot that King Hao hit her recently. He adds that if she tries to separate them now, someone will blame her for all this. Students swear at each other. The headman stands and is silent with a gloomy look. Someone throws the contents of a backpack on the floor. A guy in a white shirt turned over a container of water for the cooler and said that there wasn't a drop there. A girl with blue hair points her finger at the stairs and invites the guy to go to the second floor because there may be food in the director's office. A black-haired guy in a white shirt agrees with the girl. Someone with a bat in his hand is standing on the stairs. A guy with red hair and a bat in his hand tells the people below to stop. Behind him are several more people and a man on a chair with a book in his hands. A guy in a black shirt on a chair asks the people below what they are going to do. Woo Bin gets up and says that it is Ling Mu, and then asks why they are all here. Zhao Tianlei made an angry expression. The students below are scared. The bald guy says that this is the famous evil Ling Mu, and there are only scoundrels around him. The blue-haired girl calls the guy in the white shirt Xiao Hao and tells him to forget about it. The guy has a worried expression on his face. He goes up the stairs and says that there was no food on the first floor and so they went up to see if there was anything upstairs. Ling Mu puts the book on the table and says it's clear. He kicks Xiao Hao in the stomach. The blue-haired girl screams the guy's name. The head of the scoundrel made a gloomy expression on his face. A guy in a white shirt falls down the stairs. A blue-haired girl with a frightened expression on her face approaches Xiao Hao and asks him if he is okay. Ling Mu made an angry expression. He comes down the stairs and says that a group of nerds who don't know what the world looks like are still thinking. He points his thumb at the stairs and says that from now on this stairs is the border, and the second floor is his territory, and if anyone dares to cross the line, he will be killed. The students from the bottom floor made scared faces. The head of the villains eats a bun and says that there is a lot of food upstairs, and if they want to eat, they should exchange valuables for food. The guy with the food-stained face laughs. Wu Bin clenched his hands into fists and said that this Ling Mu is usually arrogant and even power-hungry. But this time he captured the second floor and pretended to be a king, which is simply outrageous. The head of the villains brings bread to the blue-haired girl and asks her what happened, and then adds that she is so beautiful. But she is messing around with this garbage. He asks why doesn't she come with him and die of hunger. The girl calls Ling Mu a scoundrel and hits his hand with bread. The bread falls to the ground. The head of the scoundrels made an angry expression on his face. He hits the girl in the face, calling her trash. He takes the girl by the hair with his hand. He asks her how dare she do this. The headman in a menacing voice asks the scoundrel to let his classmate go. Ling Mu looks at the headman, E. Seaton, with an angry expression on his face, tells the villain that now that there is chaos outside, they must be united. She asks him how dare he touch and intimidate his classmates at such a time. The student with green hair says that the head girl is right. The guy with brown hair also agrees. The blonde asks the head of the scoundrels not to be so unreasonable. The headman says that besides, the library is not his home. The food in it belongs to everyone. Li Mu looks at the headman with contempt and tells her that she and the teachers always got in his way. He adds that the teachers are dead, so no one will protect her. The head of the villains smiles and asks her if she likes being the center of attention, and then tells his subordinates to undress her so everyone can see what kind of body the headman has. The bald guy asks which of them will attack her first. The head girl crossed her arms and made a frightened expression on her face. The main character points an axe towards the bullies. Zhao Tianlei stood in front of the headman and told Ling Mu to stop and not go too far. The bully is confused by the main character. The head of the villains laughs very loudly. He asks the main character how dare he tell him and does he really want to become a hero. He adds that the main character seems to have missed yesterday. The protagonist with a serious expression says that until today he bullied him, but the world has changed and the era of Ling Mu is over. He adds that if he thinks he can do whatever he wants, then let him try. Ling Mu looks at the protagonist with an angry expression. Zhao Tianlei hits bookshelves with an axe. A deafening sound echoes throughout the room. The main character looks at the enemy with a menacing expression on his face. A bead of sweat runs down Li Mu's cheek. His subordinate in a black t-shirt says that the axe is very sharp and this is not a joke. The guy with brown hair says that this man is probably crazy and they won't be able to deal with him. The leader of the bullies repeats that they are on the second floor and the rest of the students are on the first, and then adds that only they have water. He leaves with his subordinates and says that if someone dares to sneak up and steal something, then they should not blame him. The main character, the headman, and the guy in a white t-shirt look after him. The head of the scoundrels asks his subordinate what he is waiting for, and then asks him to find something. He gritted his teeth and said that even Zhao Tianlei has weapons, so he needs to find something. Wu Bin holds the headman, who has become ill, and asks her if she is okay. E. Seaton looked down and said that she simply did not expect that people could be so terrible. She adds that they are all classmates, but after just a few hours, everyone has changed so much, so she is scared. The main character, with a serious expression on his face, tells her that all people can live in peace and harmony, but when faced with the threat of death and out of the control of society, some timid people will live only for themselves. He adds that in order to survive, they are willing to sacrifice others for themselves. The girl looks up. Zhao Tianlei tells the head girl that she must change her character or she will be in danger. Wu Bin holds her shoulder and tells her not to be afraid, because he and the protagonist will protect her. The red-haired girl thanks them. The library building is illuminated by daylight. The headman says that all the food and water are on the second floor, and there is Ling Mu territory. She presses her hand to her chest and says that even if they hide here, sooner or later they will die of hunger. The main character says that there are too many Ling Mu people here, and they should not openly confront them. The guy in the white t-shirt and the headman look at the main character. The girl blushes deeply looking at him. She holds her stomach and tells Wu Bin, who is looking at her, that no, that's not true. The main character calls them over and tells them that they must be hungry too and offers them something to eat. They ask the main character about the food with shocked facial expressions. Students watch the main character's group. A girl with dark hair sits against the wall, and next to her is a girl with glasses. The girl with glasses calls the girl with dark hair Shen Xinyu and asks her if something is wrong. Sheng Xinyu smiles and says nothing. The main character with the headman and a guy in a t-shirt are walking along the corridor. Drops of sweat run down Wu Bin's face and he asks the main character where he is taking them and whether there is food in this corridor. Zhao Tianlei grabs the door handle and says that there should be food in the cafeteria, and then adds that the two of them should help him with the door until he returns. Wu Bin, with a frightened expression on his face, asks the main character if he is going somewhere. The headman answers in a raised tone that no, under no circumstances. The girl holds the main character by the shoulder and tells him that there are a lot of zombies outside and it's too dangerous there. She adds that she is actually not very hungry and will be able to bear it. The main character smiles and tells her not to worry, because everything will be fine. He opens the door and says that he is already leaving. Wu Bin tells the headman that he does not believe that the main character will return safe and sound. Zombies walk around the square near the building. The main character secretly passes by zombies. He looks into an alley. There he sees two zombies with backpacks. The protagonist takes a black backpack. He opens it and sees food inside. Zhao Tianlei looks inside with a surprised expression. He touches his ring and commands the vault to start up. A blue glow from the system appears around the main character. He put the food in storage and thought that these foods alone would last him for a long time. But if he added Seaton and Wu Bin, then these foods would not last long. Inside the vault are many bottles and bags of food. The main character closed the storage and thought that the longer it takes, the more difficult it is to find food. He takes a bag of crackers and thinks that they can be stored for a long time as a food supply until it is too late, and he needs to divide the water. The protagonist shifts some of the food. He takes out another package from his backpack. Zhao Tianlei opened his eyes wide. He heard zombies. He turns back towards the noise. Behind him stands a zombie with long hair. The zombie jumped on the protagonist. The main character clenched his teeth and covered himself with his hand. He raises his axe to attack. He strikes the living dead. He takes the axe out of the zombie. Zhao Tianlei made a serious expression. Zombies are coming at the main character from both sides of the alley, and I thought that he was surrounded. The protagonist pays attention to the window next to him. He makes a jump towards the window. He climbs inside the room through the window. There is a gas stove and scattered bottles and dishes in the room. The main character opens the closet and thought that he should see if there is anything edible here. He adds that we need to see if there is anything edible here. The protagonist opens the pressure cooker and sees rice inside. He smiles because he is happy about the rice. Wu Bin is sitting near the door and the headman is walking nearby. The protagonist asks to open the door from the back. A guy in a t-shirt opens the door with a smile on his face. Zhao Tianlei says with a smile on his face that he is back. The headman cries and hugs the main character and then tells him that he has returned. Wu Bin tells the main character that Seaton was very worried about him, and if he had not returned, he would not have been able to stop her. The protagonist laughs and apologizes with a reddened face. The main character takes out a backpack from his back and tells the others to look at what he brought. He shows them the rice, and the guy in the t-shirt and the headman are happy. The protagonist smiles and tells them to eat. Wu Bin and Seaton eat rice. The girl says that she is so happy because they can eat hot food at such a time. The guy in the white t-shirt says that he never thought that rice could be so tasty. The main character touches his cheek and tells them to eat with a smile on his face. Seaton asks the main character why he doesn't eat. With a smile on his face, he replies that he has already eaten in the dining room. He hands over a bottle of water and says that when he came out he found that the zombies outside are much more dangerous, and later it will be harder and harder to find food, so they should appreciate every food and drink water. The protagonist says that they should not show food in front of other classmates, otherwise they will try to attack them. The headman holds a bottle of water and says that there are many people there who are their friends. Wu Bin looks at the headman with pity and notices that she still wants to help them. The guy in the t-shirt throws up his hands and says that in order to get this food, Zhao Tianlei put his life at risk, and when they are hungry, no one cares about them. A drop of sweat runs down the girl's cheek. Seaton tells them that they are right and she won't tell anyone. The girl says that there is so much rice left, and then asks what they should do. Wu Bin says why not hide it, but he doesn't know where. The protagonist leaves the room and says that it's simple. Wu Bin asks the main character what he is doing. The protagonist closes the container with rice and leaves it on the street. The guy in the white t-shirt tells the protagonist that he did a great job. He smiles and says that other people who have seen zombies being killed will not open the door to kill the zombies outside and to find food. He adds that they won't be found here until dinner is over. The protagonist smiles and says that if they are gone for a long time, it will be suspicious. They return to the hall with their classmates. Everyone around is in despair. Ling Mu asks the students why they are making so much noise and if they are hungry. A guy in a gray t-shirt holding his head with his hands and a man with black hair are looking at the source of the voice. The head of the villains comes down the stairs and says that they are classmates and can come to him for help. He adds that he can't look at it, clenches his fist and calls Ling Mu a scoundrel and must be pretending to be kind to deceive people. Zhao Tianlei says that as long as he doesn't provoke them, they won't provoke him. The head of the villains notices Shen Xinyu and asks if this is the same celebrity. The main character made a surprised expression on his face. The head of the villains leans his hand on the wall in front of the girl and says that she knows that the second floor is behind him, and then asks why she didn't come to him. He adds that he has food and water, so he won't let her be hurt. Wei Bin stands next to the protagonist and tells him this is his goddess and she was just hiding here, and they didn't see her. The headman looks at the main character with a pitiful expression on his face. The girl with glasses moves her hand to the side and says that her classmate Shen Xinyu really hasn't eaten for a long time, and if he gives some food and water, they will be grateful. Ling Mu spreads his hands and tells his subordinate to bring food to the class goddess and her friend. A girl with glasses takes a bag of food and water. The head of the villains looks at Shen Xinyu with a dark smile and tells her that he sees a lot of people and chaos here, so she better go with him to the second floor where he will protect her. The girl with blue hair thanks the head of the villains for bread and water, but she will stay with her classmates. Ling Mu grabs her hand and tells her not to be shy. The girl screams at the villain to let her go. The girl with glasses tells the scoundrel that he himself said that he would not offend her. Zhao Tianlei made an angry expression. The head of the scoundrels looks menacingly at the girl with glasses and tells her to shut up as he is talking to Shen Xinyu. He adds that one more time and he will beat her. The blue-haired girl gets rid of the protagonist's grip. She slaps the villain in the face and calls him a villain. She glares at him and tells him not to think that if he gives her some food, she will obey him. She throws food and water to Ling Mu's subordinate. The head of the scoundrels touches his swollen cheek and tells the girl that he will wait a few days until she begs on her knees. He leaves with his subordinates. The girl with glasses asks Shen Xinyu if she is okay. The blue-haired girl tells Sister Hua that at this time they should not trust anyone and they can only rely on themselves. Wu Bin tells the protagonist that he thought they would find a way to support themselves when it came to this, so Shen Xinyu can't think of such spineless trash. The protagonist with a serious expression on his face tells him that he really thinks that all female stars act by unspoken rules. He adds that many of them are fighting for themselves. The village chief says that Shen Xinyu is definitely in danger this time and wonders if she will go with Ling Mu. The main character says that if she really went up to the second floor, he would despise her, but thanks to this, he changed his mind about her. E. Seaton says that at such times women are most vulnerable, and if he goes to console her now, he can touch her heart. People can also be betrayed. Zhao Tianlei closes his eyes and says that he is a famous star, but he is a poor student who dares to think about anything. Wu Bin pushes the main character that it doesn't matter and tells him that this is his chance. The protagonist stops in place. Beads of sweat run down his cheeks. Hua and Shen Xinyu look at the main character. Zhao Tianlei, with a red face, asks if everything is okay. The blue-haired girl made a surprised expression on her face. Hua stands in front of the girl and moves his hand to the side, and then tells the main character that she is tired and needs to rest. She adds that if the main character really cares about her, then he shouldn't bother her. The main character holds a backpack in his hand and says that he doesn't want anything bad and adds that he just wanted to give some food and water. Hua is surprised that the main character has food, and the main character asks her to be quiet. Zhao Tianlei hands over the groceries to the girl. She looks at the main character warily. The protagonist has a drop of sweat running down his cheek. He tells the girl that he just wants to help and there is no other point in it. He leaves the food and tells her to remember to save some food and it's better not to say that they have food. The main character leaves them. Hua takes the bun and tells Shen Xinyu to eat it. The room is illuminated by daylight. Ling Mu closed his eyes. One of his subordinates tells him that this person wants to meet with him. King Hao stands in front of him. The head of the villain sits on a chair and asks the guy what he forgot here. The red-haired guy points a finger at himself and tells the head of the scoundrels that he sees that they usually have a good relationship and at such a time he cannot leave his brother. He put on a fake smile and asks him for the opportunity to follow him. He adds that no matter what, as soon as someone asks him for something, he is ready to do anything, even jump into the fire. Ling Mu rests his cheek on his hand and asks the guy to tell him the reason why he should take it. He adds that he already has people who helped him in his business. Kai and Hao tells him that Shen Xinyu doesn't want to get up. The head of the scoundrels listens to him carefully. The red-haired guy with an angry expression on his face says that Lingmu wants a woman, and that's why he will bring her. The blue-haired girl eats the bread that the main character handed over. Hua asks her what the relationship is between her and this guy and why he helped. Shen Xinyu asks in what sense with a surprised look. He says that they don't know each other and just studied together. Hua replies that currently they cannot share such precious food with other classmates. She asks why he gave food only to them and not to others. The blue-haired girl holds bread in 2 hands and says that she doesn't know. The girl with glasses tells Shen Xinyu that even though she is her manager, she always treats her like a sister. She adds that she is saying this for her own good. The blue-haired girl smiles and says that everything is fine. Hua says zombies are dangerous, but humans are even more dangerous. She looks at her classmates and adds that beautiful girls like her are now in great danger. Hua makes a sad expression and tells her that he wants to protect her, and then adds that the best way is to find someone to rely on. Shen Xinyu crosses her arms and says that she understands everything, but she can't because she doesn't want to sell her body for safety. Hua puts her hands forward and says that she doesn't mean Lingmu because she can't let that scoundrel take advantage of her. Shen Xinyu asks who she is talking about. Hua smiles and asks her what she thinks about this Zhao Tianlei. The blue-haired girl blushed after these words. She looks at the main character, who also looks at her. She lowered her gaze, and Hua smiled at her. Wu Bin asks the main character why he is not happy. With a smile, he tells the main character that she blushed because of him. The main character points his finger at himself and asks if it's about him. The guy in the white t-shirt asks the main character if he really doesn't understand. He adds that the main character is very stupid when it comes to relationships. He points his finger at the headman and says that as soon as the main character went to Shen Xinyu, the headwoman was very upset. It's still so obvious. The headwoman put her hands forward and said that everything was wrong. Wu Bin laughs and says that someone is just jealous, and the girl replies that everything is wrong. A drop of sweat runs down the protagonist's cheek. People in the hall begin to make noise, and the main character with Wu Bin and Yi Seaton pay attention to what is happening. The guy in the green shirt and the girl with purple hair look scared. Shen Xinyu and Hua open their mouths in surprise. The main character and the guy in a white t-shirt come closer. In the middle of the hall lies the bloody corpse of a woman. One of the students asks if this is the girl who was just kidnapped by Kai Hao. Another student says he just saw him with 2 girls upstairs. Another student says that it's just terrible and he doesn't know what these scoundrels did to her. Some of the students say that Lingmu is really not a person. The head of the scoundrels from the 2nd floor shouts that he had a good time playing with her. The disciples are surprised by these words. The head of the villains behind the partition on the 2nd floor says that he doesn't care what they think and tells them that they will all die. Kai Hao with a gloomy expression on his face says that this girl is just a bug and she is not worthy of Lingmu, and then adds that there are still many pretty girls here and he will bring them soon. Zhao Tianlei made an angry expression and called them scoundrels. Wu Bin puts his hand on the protagonist's shoulder and asks him not to be impulsive. With a serious expression on his face, he asks if the main character said that they have a lot of people and it is better for them not to conflict with them. The protagonist clenched his teeth out of anger. He looks at the murdered girl. He takes off his shirt. He covers the girl's body with it. The students look at the main character in surprise. Zhao Tianlei sits down with the girl and tells her to rest in peace. The main character with an angry expression on his face says that he promises that those who did this to her will receive their punishment. Lingmu notices with an angry expression that the main character dares to curse him. One of the boss's subordinates shouts to the others why they are frozen, and then offers to go and beat them up. A drop of sweat runs down Kai Hao's face and he agrees with these words, and the head of the scoundrels looks at the guy with displeasure. The students from the 2nd floor look angrily at their leader. One of them tells Lingmu that this time they played with fire. Another disciple says that these people are usually afraid of Lingmu because his father is protecting him. But now is the time when their lives are under threat, and now is the time when their lives are under threat. He adds that it is better to deal with it the next day. The head of the scoundrels gritted his teeth out of anger. He looks at the main character and tells him to remember it. He adds that one day he will make him kneel and beg for mercy. The protagonist looks angrily at the enemy. The moon shines against the background of the night sky. The students on the 1st floor are sleeping. Zhao Tianlei opened his eyes wide. Behind the glass there are several silhouettes. Zombies are trying to get inside the library by attacking the glass. People are scared because of what is happening. One of the students asks what to do, because they are coming here. The girl grabs the guy by the shirt and asks him to do something, because they are the only ones who can save their lives. The main character shouts at them to stop arguing. He moves his hand to the side and asks you to help him strengthen the door to prevent these zombies from getting inside. He asks the guys to move the bookcase towards the door and the girls to move the chairs. The guys agree with him and move the bookcase. Students barricade the entrance to the library. The main character made a shocked expression on his face. He runs and shouts that the back door is open and zombies could come there. Woo Bin runs with the headman and exclaims that they will go with the protagonist. Someone asks for help and the main character and the guy in the t-shirt pay attention to this. The girl with brown hair covered her mouth in fear because there was a zombie girl in front of her. The girl killed by Ling Mu became a living dead. Seaton asks how this could happen, because she fell to her death and became a zombie. Woo Bin, with a frightened expression on his face, tells the headman that she really hasn't watched the movies. He adds that after being bitten by a zombie, a person may not become one immediately, and maybe she was bitten by a zombie outside, but only turned into one now. The zombified girl runs towards the students. The frightened students run away with shocked expressions on their faces. A guy in a brown t-shirt falls to the ground near a zombified girl. The zombie runs to the fallen guy. The guy waves his hand and asks not to touch him. Zhao Tianlei hits a zombified girl with an axe. He looks at the doors in surprise. Students pushing bookshelves also notice the doors. Zombies fight from the back of the double doors. Zombies have knocked down the doors and a huge crowd of the living dead is now inside the hall. The student with brown hair notices that they open the back door. Many zombies with open mouths walk around the hall. The main character asks everyone to run because the zombies entered through the back door. Zhao Tianlei asks Woo Bin to protect Seaton. The guy in the white t-shirt has his arms spread out to the sides and agrees with the main character. The headman stands behind him. Frightened students run away from zombies. Zombies captured several students. The students run up the stairs. The main character asks people not to jostle and walk in line. One of the students has fallen and asks for help. There is a long corridor in front of the students. The guy in the brown t-shirt points his index finger at the curator's office and says that it is right ahead and they need to go there. The students beat on the door and ask to be let in. On the other side of the door are Ling Mu and his men. They barricaded the door. The head of the villains shouts to people from the other side of the door that they need to get out of here if they do not want to be eaten by zombies. Shen Xinyu calls Sister Hua. Hua tries to reach the blue-haired girl among the crowd. Someone grabs the girl's hand. The blue-haired girl turns around with a surprised look. It was the main character and he asks her to follow him. He says that there is no hiding upstairs and if she goes there, she will die. He asks her to trust him and says that he will take them to safety. The girl agrees with the main character. Woo Bin waves at the main character at the double doors and asks him to come towards him. The headman stands next to him. The main character, Hua and Shen Xinyu run towards them. The five of them run along the corridor. Woo Bin says that there is a way out ahead. Zhao Tianlei closes the door behind him. The guy in the white t-shirt made a surprised expression on his face. He asks why they are in the men's room, and then adds that he thought this door led to the street. Hua, with a reddened face, asks the guy in a white t-shirt how can they not know where the exit is if they studied at this school. Woo Bin puts his hands forward and says that he hasn't come here for a year. Zombies are hitting the toilet door. The headman turns around and asks what they should do now. Hua cries and says that even if she dies, dying in the men's room is too embarrassing. Zhao Tianlei is silent for a short time. He says that it looks like all the zombies went into the library, so there aren't many outside. Woo Bin, Huan and Shen Xinyu look at the main character in surprise. The main character tells the guy in the white t-shirt that he will take him upstairs to the window, and he will look at what is happening outside. A guy in a white t-shirt looks out the toilet window. He turns to the others and says that there are no zombies there, and there is a car on the playground. The main character tells the guy that he needs to climb through the window and he will help the others from there. Woo Bin climbs through the window. He jumps from the window and is now outside. The main character calls the girls and tells them that they will climb over first, and he will come after them. The headman asks the others to go ahead. The protagonist holds Shen Xinyu's hand and she thanks him. His face turned red from embarrassment. Hua tells the main character not to even think about looking up. The main character answers that he knows and puts the girl near the window. The blue-haired girl moves to the other side. Hua also moves to the other side. The main character tells the headman that now it's her turn. A bead of sweat runs down her cheek. Zhao Tianlei asks the guy what he will do when she leaves. She throws up her hands and asks the main character what he will do after they climb through the window. The main character tells the girl not to worry, because he has a plan, and then reaches out to her with his hand. The head girl turns away from the main character and tells him to first tell him what his plan is, otherwise she will never leave him alone. The main character made a dissatisfied expression on his face. He holds her hand and tells her that they don't have much time and she needs to stop. The head girl replies that if she leaves, she will not be able to help their classmates. The protagonist tells the head girl that her classmates are just using her. The girl looks at the main character with a surprised look. Zhao Tianlei, with an angry expression on his face, asks her if she really thinks that she can handle the zombies alone, and then adds that if she were a person who could destroy them alone, then her presence would only become his burden. He asks her that she really thinks that he is so useless. The headwoman began to cry because of the protagonist's words. She lowered her gaze and said that she would go, but she wanted to say something to the main character. The main character closed his eyes. The headman tells the main character that he loves him and kisses him on the cheek with his eyes closed. She opens her eyes and asks the main character to promise that they will all survive. A drop of sweat runs down the main character's cheek and he tells her what he promises. He asks her to hurry up. The main character lifts the girl to the window. The zombies are practically knocking down the door. The main character quickly runs to the door. The protagonist is holding a door behind which are the living dead. The zombies' hands reach out to the main character. The headman shouts the name of the main character. Zhao Tianlei turns around and asks the girl to leave. The headman with tear-stained eyes turns towards the street. She jumps down to the others. The protagonist yells at Wu Bin not to wait for him and to take the others away. He adds that they need to leave school and go somewhere safe, and he will find them. Wu Bin asks the main character to be careful. The headman asks the protagonist not to forget what he promised. They run away from the building and the head girl thought that the main character should be saved. A drop of blood falls on the floor. The main character mentally apologizes to Yi Seaton and adds that he will not be able to keep his promise. The zombies practically get to the main character. Zhao Tianlei closes his eyes. He gritted his teeth and thought that no, he couldn't die here. He makes his way through the zombies and heads towards the entrance, which is filled with zombies. A lot of zombies are coming towards the main character. The protagonist swings an axe and hits a zombie. Wu Bin and the girls run up to the car. They climb inside the car. The girl takes the guy in the t-shirt by the hand and shouts at him to stop. The headman says that they cannot leave now because they must wait for the protagonist. Hua, with concern on his face, says that they cannot wait for him, because soon there will be zombies here too. Hua says that the library is now infested with zombies and soon they will break out, and if they wait here, they will be eaten by zombies. Hua looked down and said that the main character may already be dead and there is no guarantee that he is alive. The blue-haired girl looks at Hua with a dissatisfied expression on her face. The guy in the white t-shirt says that he is also very worried about the main character, but he told them to leave the school and go to a safe place, and now there are all zombies in the library, and they have a chance to leave. The headman looks at him with a dissatisfied expression on his face. The girl gets out of the car and asks them to leave, and she will go to Zhao Tianlei. The guy in a white t-shirt holds a girl's hand and asks her to stop. Wu Bin says with a serious expression that the main character told him to protect her, and he has an obligation to protect her, so he won't let her die in vain. The girl looks at him with an upset expression. The guy says that the main character must have some kind of plan, so she must believe in him. The elder looks down and asks how he can cope with so many zombies alone. The girl opens her eyes wide. Wu Bin asks the girl to believe in the main character, because this is Zhao Tianlei. The guy in a white t-shirt smiles. The girl looks down and trembles. Shen Xinyu and Hua silently watch what is happening. The guy in the white t-shirt started the car. The car starts moving and the students drive away. There are dark clouds in the sky and lightning strikes. There are many zombie corpses in the toilet. Drops of rain fall to the ground. There are more and more drops. The main character walks slowly in the rain. His axe shines because of the rain. He walks slowly along the treadmill with an axe in one hand and a backpack in the other. He is breathing heavily due to his injuries and fatigue. The protagonist staggers and loses his balance. He falls to the ground and drops the axe. The main character is enveloped in purple energy. The system reports that the owner's life is in danger and several parts of the body are infected with a virus, and then asks to inject the liquid of the evolution of the virus as soon as possible. Otherwise, the main character will turn into a zombie. The protagonist lies on the ground and smiles. He says that he already forgot about it. He is holding his ring. It materializes the system's storage. The main character takes out a bottle and wonders if it will work. Zhao Tianlei sits in the rain and thinks that it is a virus, not immunity. He suggests that he may become a monster after infection. He thought that he had no choice and injected himself with the drug. The amount of liquid in the test tube gradually decreases. The protagonist's face turned red. A drop of sweat runs down his cheek and he thought that nothing was happening, and then assumes that the injection did not work. The main character's eyes turned red. He grabbed his hand and thought that it felt like his body was about to be torn apart. The veins on the main character's hand are swollen. He gritted his teeth due to the pain. Lightning strikes from dark clouds. The sun is shining against the background of a clear sky. There were puddles on the ground. The main character is lying on the ground. He notices with a surprised look that he is still alive. He gets up and says that there is no mutation and there are no physical injuries either, and it seems that this ring did not deceive him. A voice from the ring asks you to call him a venerable virtual god. The main character calls him a great virtual god and says that he was mistaken and should not have doubted him. The ring glows and the virtual god tells the main character that he has successfully evolved into the second class. Ability levels: Strength 18, Dexterity 16, Defense 17, Recovery ability 8, Storage space 3 expansion levels. The main character smiles and asks about the second grade, and then says that he has become stronger and that's great. The virtual god reports that in total there are 19 classes of evolution: Marshal, Commander, Master, Y Officer, Sergeant, and Soldier. The main character looks at his hand. The system reports that officers are divided into General, Lieutenant General, Major, Colonel, Lieutenant Colonel. She adds that officers are divided into warrant officers, captains, lieutenants, sergeants, and corporals. The virtual god says that while soldiers are divided into soldiers, second soldier, third soldier, and since there are 19 classes, then the main character has the last one. The protagonist is angry because of the system's words. He asks the system if it really takes him for a fool, and then adds that he does not understand what it is saying. He adds that he is really so weak that he cannot save the world. The virtual could say that the normal human evolution is the beginning of the third class, but due to the fact that the main character killed many zombies, he receives the rank of private, which gives special advantages. The system says that as for the future, it depends on him, because for each zombie killed, the main character receives 1 point. And to increase the class you need 150 points. The main character brings his face closer to the ring and asks if 150 is too much. The virtual god says that the system is fair and reasonable, and then tells the young man that the hope of humanity lies in his hands and therefore wishes him luck. The main character asks the system to wait, because he hasn't asked everything yet. Bright sunlight illuminates the square. The main character, with a dissatisfied expression on his face, tells the system that every time he wants to ask something, it immediately falls asleep. Zhao Tianlei says that the virtual god just said that after evolution the body will become stronger, but he doesn't feel anything, so he needs to test the strength. The protagonist approaches a stone column. He swings his hand at her. He hits the column and breaks it into 2 parts. The main character, with a surprised expression on his face, is surprised at his strength and adds that if Wu Bin saw this, he would be shocked. The library building is illuminated by bright lights. The protagonist thought that the zombies in the library had dispersed and he needed to see if there were any other survivors. Everything inside the main hall is scattered. The main character opens the double doors. He sees an empty room. He looks around and thought that Lingmu had run away. He gets into the shower and is surprised that even he is there. The main character throws his bag on the floor. He takes off his t-shirt and thought that he should wash himself. He washes himself in the shower. Drops of water fall on the floor. The main character sits on the couch wearing only shorts and watching TV. The TV presenter tells the people of China that yesterday there was a global outbreak of a terrorist biochemical virus, and according to some statistics, more than half of the people in the world have turned into zombies. He adds that these zombies are very aggressive, and as soon as a bite occurs, the person immediately becomes a zombie. The presenter reports that the government has taken emergency measures, namely, created survivor bases and sent troops to help. He adds that he hopes that the survivors, having received this message, hid in a safe place and awaited rescue. The main character says that once the government built a military base for survivors, humanity had hope of survival. The main character hears some noise. He immediately gets up from the couch. The protagonist holds an axe in his right hand. He opens the closet door and prepares to attack. In front of him on the ground lies a blue-haired girl with her hair tied in a ponytail, who asks him not to eat her. The main character made a surprised expression on his face. He puts his hands forward and tells the girl to calm down because everything is fine. The girl asks not to eat it. Zhao Tianlei asks to look at him and that he is a human and not a zombie. The girl opens one eye. The protagonist says that he is a good person and will not touch her. The main character is sitting on the sofa and the girl is crying on the chair. The protagonist thought that she must have been in severe shock. The main character asks what her name is and why she was hiding in the closet. The girl says that her name is Cheng Yao and she is from the art department, And then she says that yesterday she and her friend went to the library to get books and did not expect that the outbreak would happen. She says that at that time the two of them were hiding in the corridor and were thirsty and hungry. She adds that later King Hao came to them and said that he could take them to Lingmu and give them something to eat, so they listened to him. She says that she didn't expect that she would go up to the second floor and their Lingmu's people would intimidate them. She adds that her friend could not stand it and jumped down. The main character thought that it was the girl from yesterday. The girl says that soon the zombies made their way into the library, and she hid in this office along with Lingmu. She adds that later they saw that the zombie was not outside and used a rope to climb down through the curtain. But the last person who climbed halfway broke the curtain. Cheng Yao looked down and said that she was afraid to jump from the window, so she hid in the closet. The main character gets angry and says that these scoundrels left the girl, and therefore they are non-humans. The girl asks the main character what his name is. He says his name back to her. The girl closes her mouth and notices that the main character is the same person who hit Cayenne Hao and was going to teach Lingmu a lesson. The girl tells the main character that he was so brave that when everyone was afraid of Lingmu, he was not afraid of him and said that he would deal with him. The protagonist puts his hand on the back of his head and laughingly says that yes, it is so. He smiles because of the girl's words. Cheng Yao tells the main character that he always had clothes on, but now he is without them and that's why she didn't recognize him. The protagonist covers himself with a pillow and says that he just took a shower and forgot to get dressed. The girl smiles looking at him. The main character puts on a t-shirt and tells the girl that she hasn't eaten anything since yesterday. He hands her bread and water. The girl cries and thanks the protagonist. Zhao Tianlei puts his hands forward and tells the girl not to cry because he cannot watch the girl cry. Cheng Yao wipes away her tears and says that he thought he was going to die, but he met the main character. She asks him if she can take a shower. The girl points to the closet and says that because she hid in the closet for a long time, she is sweaty and stinks. The main character allows her. The main character says that he will wait for her here. The girl turns the shower tap. She takes a shower. The room fills with steam due to warm water. She leaves the shower and dries herself off with a towel. The main character is sitting on the sofa. She looks at Zhao Tianlei. She blushed as she looked at him. The protagonist turns around and asks the girl if she took a shower. The girl stands and is silent with a reddened face. The main character turns away and says what can be done. Cheng Yao sits down next to the main character. She looks and takes a loaf of bread from the table. The girl cries when she looks at her. The main character asks her why she is crying again, and then adds that he has never seen such whiny girls as her. Cheng Yao, with a red face, apologizes and says that she thought that her friend jumped from the second floor because of a piece of bread. She says that she blames herself, because if she had not listened to King Hao, she would not have died. The main character asks her why she blames herself, because King Hao and Lingmu are scoundrels and deceivers, and in the end, her friend became a zombie, which means that she was infected, so she would have died anyway. Cheng Yao cuddles up to the main character and tells him that currently zombies are everywhere and she doesn't know what to do. The main character blushes and tells the girl that she doesn't have to do this at all. The building is illuminated by sunlight. The protagonist says that the news said that the government has created a base of survivors and they need to get there. He adds that he thinks that his friend, having heard the news, will definitely go there to meet him. The main character with a red face tells the girl that she can go with him if she wants. The girl smiles and asks the main character if he will take her with him. The protagonist tells her that of course, and if she has no other plans, then he can take her. The girl replies that she has no other plans and is going with him. Zhao Tianlei takes out clothes from his backpack and says that these are clothes that were left over from the dormitory. The main character looks at the girl and tells her that she will have to wear these clothes. Cheng Yao kisses the main character on the lips. The main character opened his eyes wide. The protagonist crossed his arms and asked the girl in a raised tone what she was doing. The girl tells the main character that he saved her life, but he has nothing to repay her with, so she is ready to repay with her body. The main character opened his mouth wide in surprise. Drops of sweat run down the protagonist's face and he tells the girl that it's better to get dressed and now is not the time to joke. Cheng Yao, with a red face, tells the main character that she is not joking and is ready to repay with her body if the main character does not offend her. The protagonist is very red and smoke is coming from him. The girl covers her mouth and tells the main character that his face is so red, and then asks him if he is hot. The girl opened her eyes wide and thought that this was really the main character's first kiss. The main character clenched his teeth and thought that this was really his first kiss. Zhao Tianlei crossed his arms and said that when he was a child, he kissed his aunt many times. The girl smiles and says that a kiss on the cheek is like a real kiss. The protagonist's face turned red again. The girl says what does it mean? It was his first kiss and he was with her. The main character asks him not to say anything stupid. Someone screams for help and says that they are in the broadcast room. The main character, with concern on his face, says that there are living people in the school. The girl asks what they will do and whether they will go to save them. The main character replies that of course yes, because these fools will now bring zombies to them. Many zombies are walking along the corridor. People close the wooden door. The crowd of people are scared because of the zombies. One of them asks what they should do. Another person notices that the zombies are about to break through. Another person says that he is afraid and does not want to die. The man with the mustache turns around and notices the main character. The protagonist climbed a tree and exclaims that he is here. A man with a mustache opens the window and asks the protagonist if he has come to save them. The main character tells them to be quiet because they might attract zombies. The blue sky rises above the building and tree. Zhao Tianlei asks what's going on inside. He is told that this building was filled with zombies and they managed to escape into the broadcasting room. He adds that they are close and asks to save them. The main character tells them to take a rope and tie it to something to get down. He adds that they should not make a sound. A man with a mustache throws down a rope. She is tied to a gray pipe. A man with a mustache comes down. The main character runs up to the girl and man who have already descended. The main character shouts to the next one to come down. Another person came down. A girl in a white shirt comes downstairs. Someone from below shouts to a guy named Liar that he is the last one left. The guy with glasses is shaking on the rope and says that he is afraid. He lets go of the rope out of fear. He falls down and screams loudly. Zombies pay attention to noise. The main character clenches his teeth and says that this is bad. He shouts to the others to run. A man in a white t-shirt points his finger somewhere and says that they will go to the parking lot. There is a car there. The survivors run up to the white car. People crowd around the car. Someone shouts to them that the car is full and there is no room. The main character takes Liar by the shoulder and tells him to stop because the girls must get into the car first. The guy with glasses cries and shouts that he doesn't want to die. The guy in the back seat tells the guy with glasses that it's all because of him and if he hadn't fallen, the zombies wouldn't have found them. The guy in the green shirt chases Liar away. Chang Yao tells the main character that she doesn't need this and she will be with him. The main character turns to her and says that it is too dangerous to follow him and asks her to leave with them in the car and go to a safe place. Chang Yao, with a gloomy expression on his face, tells the main character to look at them because he just saved them. But as soon as they got into the car, they are ready to sacrifice other classmates and if something happens, they will give up to survive themselves. The guy in the green shirt is pushing Liar. The girl tells the main character that being with such people is dangerous and she would rather go with him. Zhao Tianlei closed his eyes. Zombies head towards the survivors. Cheng Yao looks at the main character and says his name. The protagonist pushes Liar and tells them to take it. With an angry expression, he calls the people in the car the ungrateful scoundrels he saved. The driver in the white shirt apologizes to the main character. They leave in a white car. The main character takes the blue-haired girl by the hand and tells her to follow him. Clouds float across the blue sky. There are many products on the store shelves. Cheng Yao goes with a bowl of food to the main character and says that the noodles are ready. A delicious dish with lots of vegetables in the bowl. Zhao Tianlei looks at the dish in surprise and says that it looks expensive. Cheng Yao has a happy expression on his face. The girl touches her cheek and says that the supermarket only has frozen food. She added sausage, fish balls and something else. The main character eats with chopsticks and says that it is very tasty. With a smile on his face, he asks the girl if it's difficult for her to do all this. The girl crossed her arms behind her back and says that it is not difficult for her, because the main character is her boyfriend and she will take care of him. The main character spat out the contents of his mouth in surprise. He asks her with a reddened expression how she can say such a thing. The girl spreads her arms to the sides and asks what's wrong with that, because she wants to reward the main character with her love. The main character puts his chopsticks on the table and tells the girl that this is not so. The protagonist holds her by the shoulders and tells her that he saved her for nothing, so there is no need to try to repay him, and then he asks if she understands this. The girl with a confident look says that she understands. The main character opened his eyes wide in surprise. The girl says that she is doing this voluntarily. She closes her eyes and prepares to kiss the main character. She tells him that she likes him and wants to be his girlfriend. Cheng Yao approaches the main character. The protagonist crosses his arms and asks the girl to stop this. The blue-haired girl lowered her gaze and tells the main character that it means he doesn't like her. She asks him if he hates her. The main character puts his hands forward. I tell her that he doesn't hate her and asks her to stop crying. The girl with tear-stained eyes asks the main character why he behaves this way. The protagonist with a sad expression on his face says that in fact, he has a loved one. The girl opened her eyes wide and asked if it was Yi Seaton. Cheng Yao asks the main character that this really means that he would be happy to protect her. The main character, with a bewildered face, replies that this is not so and he protects her because she cares about him. He adds that she is like his best friend. The blue-haired girl with a dissatisfied expression on her face asks who it is then. The protagonist looked down and said that this was Shen Xinyu. The girl closes her mouth in surprise and shouts that this is really that famous star, and she is the girlfriend of the main character. Zhao Tianlei says with a worried expression that he is just a poor guy and she can't be his girlfriend. He adds that he simply fell in love with her at first sight. Cheng Yao says what does it mean unrequited love? The main character involuntarily spits after these words. The girl tells him not to worry and never give up. The protagonist thanks her. The main character looks at her. The girl says that at this time it doesn't matter whether you are rich or poor, money will not save you from zombies. She smiles and tells the protagonist that the main character is not an ordinary person, and then adds that he has helped so many people and is a true hero. So he doesn't need to say something like that and he deserves many beautiful girls, not just Shen Xinyu. The main character puts his hand on the back of her head and tells her not to joke, because what a hero he is. Cheng Yao looks at the main character with a dissatisfied look and says that she is serious. She reports that after everything she went through in the library, she understands that power is everything. The main character makes a surprised expression on his face. The girl lowered her gaze and said that women want to live, relying only on men and they don't care what they do to them. They just want to survive at any cost. Sakura petals seem to be flying near her. Cheng Yao says that therefore, if the main character does not tell her to leave, then she will be with him, and if he does not want her to be his girlfriend, then she will be a mistress who will wash clothes and cook food. She adds that as long as the protagonist allows her to stay with him, she will be very happy. Zhao Tianlei blushed deeply and said that he would protect her even if she didn't cook. The girl made a joyful expression on her face and asks if this is really so. She kisses the main character on the cheek and calls him good. A beautiful starry sky rises above the forest. The protagonist says that this is not what he meant and allows her to kiss him on the cheek. The girl tells the guy that his nose is bleeding and he has such a cute look. The main character opens the passage to the parking lot, and next to him is a blue-haired girl. There are many cars in front of them. The protagonist with a surprised look says that this supermarket owner is so rich that he has so many cars. Chen Yao smiles and tells the main character that he is not a relative of the owner. She looks at the blue car and suggests that the main character choose this SUV because the car has a lot of space. It is spacious and comfortable, and the stability and sales power are better than other options. The main character asks her if she knows anything about cars. The girl replies that it is a secret. A guy and a girl are driving along the road. The car shines from the sunlight. The frightened protagonist sits in the passenger seat. A joyful girl sits in the driver's seat and shouts that this is the feeling, this is the view, and then adds that this car is amazing. Drops of sweat flow down the protagonist's face. He tells the girl that you can't tell from her that she knows anything about cars. Cheng Yao smiles and says that her biggest dream is to drive an SUV on the highway, and today it finally came true. The girl asks where this survivor base is and where they are going. The protagonist replies that he is looking where she is. The main character looks at the map and says that at that time the TV was not working well, and they did not specify the exact location. The girl also looks at the map. On the road in front, 3 figures are running towards the car. The main character and the girl look at them in fear. The car slows down. The girl turns the car from side to side. The car stops at these 3 figures. There are 3 people in front of them. The blonde touches the hood and asks to let them in, and then adds that they managed to escape, and if he does not allow them to get into the car, they will die. She asks the main character and Cheng Yao if they will let the zombies kill them. The blue-haired girl with a surprised look asks what is happening. The car leaves the stopping place. 3 passengers sit in the rear seats. The girl thanks the main character and the blue-haired girl for letting them in. The guy with the pink mohawk agrees with her. The blonde asks the main character where they are going and adds that currently zombies are everywhere, and they cannot leave Lanet. Zhao Tianlei with a gloomy look says that they have not yet answered his question, and then asks who they are and why they were on the highway. A drop of sweat runs down the blonde's cheek and she says that all 3 of them are family, and this is her boyfriend and brother. The guy with the pink mohawk raises his hand in greeting and then says that they didn't expect to encounter a zombie virus outbreak. A green-haired guy with a dissatisfied expression on his face sits on the opposite side of the blonde. The guy with the mohawk continues that they managed to escape onto the highway and ran to the car. He adds that at that time there was chaos around and they were just hiding in the car, and when they saw a blue SUV, they went to ask for help. The blonde with a smile on her face asks the main character and the blue-haired girl if they are a couple. The main character and Cheng Yao blushed. The blue-haired girl turns around and tells the blonde that she has good eyesight, and the main character asks her to watch the road. The blonde points at the main character's bag and asks what's in it, and then adds that they haven't eaten during the day and could he give them something. The girl shows her watch and says that the protagonist could take it as payment, because it is branded and very expensive. Zhao Tianlei asks what is the point of looking at the time and says that he will give them something to eat now. He puts 3 sausages in the girl's hands. The green-haired guy asks the main character not to be so greedy, and then asks if he really thinks that this is enough to eat, and why not give him a little more food. Cheng Yao with an angry expression says that now the food is very valuable, and they don't have enough for themselves, and then asks them to be grateful for that too. A green-haired guy with an angry expression on his face asks the girl what she said. The blonde tells the green-haired guy that everything is fine and gives him a sausage. She says they gave them food so they should be grateful. The protagonist carefully observes the passengers through the rear view glass. Cheng Yao, with a fearful expression on his face, tells the main character to look ahead. Many zombies attacked a white car and broke its windows. People from a blue SUV look at what is happening. Many zombies are trying to get into the car. Among them is a zombified liar. The blonde puts her hand on her shoulder and says that there are zombies there and it's terrible. 4 zombies are heading towards the blue SUV. Cheng Yao asks if this is that teacher's car. The protagonist says that it looks like he encountered a zombie while driving and flipped the car over in a panic. Cheng Yao with an angry expression says that they deserve it and it is their own fault. The blonde looks out the window with a dissatisfied expression on her face. She smiles and tells the protagonist that there is a city ahead, and there are many people there who have turned into zombies and therefore they need to go to another place. The main character looks at her with closed eyes. The main character says that this makes sense, but he will go there anyway. An axe lies next to him. He tells the passengers that he will let them out of the car and they can go wherever they want. A green-haired guy aims a pistol at the main character. He shouts to the main character that he must do what she says if he does not want to die. The blonde smiles and says to listen to her. The main character grits his teeth and asks them who they really are. The girl says that they are not bad people and just drive along the streets. She asks to give the car in exchange for saving her life. A drop of sweat runs down the protagonist's cheek. The guy with the mohawk says that he advises her to be obedient, because her younger brother is not very kind and took the lives of 3 people, and no one will stop him. The green-haired guy shouts that he will shoot both of them. The blonde hits him and asks what will happen if the smell of blood brings zombies here. The blonde turns to Cheng Yao. With a creepy smile on her face, she tells her that if she doesn't want her boyfriend to lose his brains, then she needs to give her food and a car. A blue SUV speeds down the road. The blue-haired girl looks at the main character and thinks that if they lose the car, zombies will attack them. But if she doesn't listen to them, then the main character will be dead. She wonders what to do. The main character raises his hand and says that they are leaving and asks if they have evidence that they will not touch them. The blonde smiles and assures the main character that she will not lie to them. The main character tells the blue-haired girl to park. The girl slows down the car. The car stops in the middle of the road. The main character and Cheng Yao open the car doors. The blonde asks them to move slowly. They turn towards the car. The green-haired guy with a gun tells the main character that he can go, but let the girl stay. Cheng Yao has a scared expression on his face. The guy with the mohawk asks why they need unnecessary problems. The green-haired guy tells him that they have enough food for now and the guy with the mohawk has a sister, and he also needs someone. A green-haired guy with a gloomy expression says that this girl looks seductive, so she will go with him. Cheng Yao trembles and calls the name of the main character. The protagonist is silent with a calm expression on his face. The main character turns around and takes the girl by the hand. The green-haired scoundrel gets out of the car and asks the main character how dare he ignore him, Lao Zhai. He aims at the main character with a pistol and says that it's time to teach him a lesson. The protagonist performs a lightning strike. The protagonist cuts off the hand of the villain with the pistol. Lao Zhai opened his mouth wide in fear and pain. The main character has a menacing expression on his face. The green-haired guy holds onto the place where his hand used to be and screams. Zhao Tianlei with a gloomy look asks him who he was going to shoot at. The blonde takes a knife and screams, asking the main character how he dared to hurt her brother. The guy with the mohawk takes out a gun and tells the main character that he will shoot him. Cheng Yao closes his mouth in fear and asks the protagonist to be careful. The main character threw an axe at the guy with the mohawk in the head. A bead of sweat runs down the blonde's face. The protagonist picks up a pistol from the ground. He shoots the blonde with a knife. The knife flies far back. The blonde is crying because of what is happening. The main character looks at his hands and says that since he introduced the liquid for the evolution of the virus, his reaction and speed have become much faster. The blonde raises her hands up and asks not to kill her, because they want to live and they had no other choice but to do it. The green-haired brother lies on the ground and tells his sister that he is in pain. Zhao Tianlei with a smile on his face says that let someone else send them to their deaths. The blonde cries and says what she can do, because she is just a woman. She spread her arms to the sides and says that in fact, she and her brother were good people and this guy forced them. She adds that they are free now that he is dead. An axe sticks out of the head of a guy with a mohawk. The blonde hugs the protagonist's leg and tells him that if she forgives him and her brother, she will do anything. Cheng Yao crosses her arms and with an angry expression tells her how she can behave like this, and then says that she has never seen such a shameless woman. The main character closed his eyes and asks what, really, anything. The blonde puts her hand on the main character's chest and tells him that his girlfriend is young, but she has no experience, and a mature woman is much better. The protagonist smiles slightly and says that he promises not to kill them. The blue-haired girl opens her eyes wide and a bead of sweat runs down her cheek. She names the main character. The protagonist adds that, however, he is not going to help them. The blonde looks at the main character with a perplexed look. Zhao Tianlei holds Cheng Yao's hand and says that the sound of the gunshot attracted many zombies here. He looks at the blonde with contempt and tells the two scoundrels to just stay here and enjoy a joy they cannot imagine. The blonde makes a shocked expression on her face. The main character and Cheng Yao leave by car. The blonde turns her head the other way. Many zombies are running towards her. A zombified liar runs ahead of them. The blonde and her brother are scared. The girl asks for help. A blue sky with clouds rises above the mountains and forests. The blue-haired girl holds the steering wheel and trembles. Zhao Tianlei holds the handle above the window and says that he didn't want to kill them and he simply had no choice. He adds that if he had not done this, they would have suffered. The protagonist looks at the girl and tells her that he knows that she is afraid. But they face this every day, so she needs to be brave. The girl turns the steering wheel and tells the main character that she understands. She's just not used to it yet. She adds that zombies are terrible, but humans are even more disgusting. She looks at the main character with a smile and tells him to be sure that she will be strong and will not become unnecessary ballast. The main character smiles and answers with the word good. He looks out the window, and the girl, looking at him, thought that she was scared not because she saw the main character smiling. She adds that even then she was alone in the library. Green fields are visible to the side of the road. She thinks about how everyone turned away from her and how she thought that she would be left alone and die alone. The students run away from the blue-haired girl. She adds that now she has met the main character, so she must be useful to him and that is the only way she can live. Cheng Yao presses on the gas pedal. She tells the protagonist to look forward, which he does. There are many abandoned cars on the bridge in front of the city. Zhao Tianlei and the girl get out of the blue car. The protagonist says that it seems that traffic here is paralyzed and apparently people abandon their cars. He adds that fortunately they are not far from the city and can walk there. Sunlight illuminates high-rise buildings. The protagonist and the girl walk among the cars. Cheng Yao tells the main character that the atmosphere here is completely different, and then notes that there are no people or zombies here, and then wonders if there could be ghosts here. Zhao Tianlei says with a smile on his face that he would rather run into a ghost. The main character asks the girl if she thinks that ghosts are cute compared to zombies who eat people. Cheng Yao asks the main character how ghosts can be cute. The girl opens her eyes wide. She clings to the main character and shouts that there are ghosts here. The black cat turns around and looks at the main character and the girl. Cheng Yao says she was scared. This cat scared her to death. The main character tells her that she scared him. The black cat makes a jump. The protagonist turns around, red light emanating from his eyes. Cheng Yao asks what happened. The main character, with concern on his face, says that he seems to hear the sounds of zombies. He and the girl look out of the car. Zhao Tianlei says that this is a large group. The girl asks the main character not to scare her, because she does not hear or see them. The protagonist asks the girl to come with him, after which they move on. The main character is running and thought that now his ears are sensitive and if he is not mistaken, then they should be ahead. A bead of sweat runs down his cheek. He thought that there was someone there. Daylight illuminates the city. Many zombies crowded around the building. Many living dead are walking towards the building. People inside are barricading the entrance. One of the people at the entrance shouts that he can hold more. A man with gray hair asks to move a few more shelves. Zhao Tianlei and Cheng Yao peek around the corner. The main character has a menacing look. The girl with concern on her face says that there are so many zombies there and it's terrible. The protagonist says that there is a window there and from there you should be able to see what's inside. The entrance is blocked by a huge amount of furniture. A girl with black hair tied in 2 ponytails tells her brother that she feels bad and asks if she will really die. A guy in a black t-shirt holds his sister and tells her that she will be okay. He adds that he will take her to the doctor and he will cure her. The girl has a wound on her arm. A balding man in a business suit tells a guy that his sister was bitten by a zombie and why doesn't he throw her out into the street. He asks him that he really wants everyone here to die. The guy in the black t-shirt is crying, and the balding man tells him that if he wants to die with her, then he shouldn't involve the others. The main character and Cheng Yao climb to the window. A red-haired girl asks a guy in a black t-shirt if everything is okay with him and why he is still holding the girl who will soon become a zombie in her arms. A guy in a black t-shirt asks Lan Lan how she can say such things, because she is his sister. People look at him with angry looks. One of the survivors asks him that he really thinks that he alone had to throw away his own sister, and then adds that many here have lost their relatives. Another survivor says that he saw his mom and dad turn into zombies and kill his sister, so he had a hard time escaping and staying alive. A red-haired girl with an angry expression tells the guy to kill her before it's too late or she'll soon become a zombie and kill them. A guy in a black t-shirt asks the girl how she can say such things, because she was bitten because she defended her. The red-haired girl has a perplexed expression on her face. The guy in the black t-shirt tells her that his sister liked her as a person and therefore wanted to make her daughter-in-law. The red-haired girl says who did she give up to anyway, after which the guy in the black t-shirt makes a gloomy expression on his face. She crossed her arms and said she didn't want to go with him, and then adds that the guy's sister saved her, but she set herself up and was bitten by a zombie, so she doesn't owe anything. She turns away and says that's why she has nothing to do with the guy in the black t-shirt and his sister. The guy's sister tells him to leave her, after which he is surprised. A girl with a tired look tells him that she doesn't want to become an ugly zombie. Some of the survivors say that she is even asking herself, and then it will be too late. The red-haired girl puts her hand to the side and says that this is right, because they will kill her to help her free herself. One of the angry survivors shouts that it's right, they kill her to help her free herself. Another survivor tells the guy that they will kill him along with her if he doesn't let her go. A guy in a black t-shirt with a menacing look shouts at them that they should only dare to harm his sister and adds that he will destroy them. A muscular guy with pink hair tells him to die and swings his palm at him. A guy in a black t-shirt grabs him by the collar. He throws it to the ground. The guy in the green jacket and the other survivors are surprised. A red-haired girl with a bead of sweat running down her face tells the others to be careful, because this guy knows martial arts. His kung fu was so strong that 3 or 2 people could not defeat him. The balding man points his finger at the guy and commands everyone to attack him together. Cheng Yao says that this girl was saved at the cost of her life, but she doesn't care about it. She adds that these people have no sense of compassion at all, they have only selfishness and there is nothing good in that. The blue-haired girl tells the main character that there is no need to take risks for such people. The protagonist smiles and tells her that she is right and all these people do not deserve to be saved except one. A drop of sweat runs down Cheng Yao's face. She asks the main character if he means this guy. The girl with a thoughtful look says that she understands how he feels, but his sister was bitten and if they waste time, she will become a zombie and eat them, because his sister will no longer survive. She adds that her brother is also selfish. The two of them look out the window. The main character says that he protects his loved ones, and the rest only worry about themselves. The girl asks if there is a difference. A guy in a black t-shirt hits a guy in a green shirt. The main character says that such people, although stubborn, are very emotional and are ready to save a loved one at any cost. He adds that this is the best person who can become their comrade. The blue-haired girl asks the protagonist what they mean by calling him comrade. The main character, with a serious expression on his face, replies that the world has changed, and in such troubled times it is not only zombies that confront them. Zhao Tianlei, with a serious expression on his face, says that in order to protect the people dear to him, he will have to fight against other people, and he cannot do it alone. He adds that this is why he is actively searching for survivors, hoping to find useful talent among them to assemble a team and fight the world in the last days. Cheng Yao, with a surprised look on her face, tells the main character that she thought that he saved those people at school out of the kindness of his heart. One of the survivors grabbed the hand of a guy in a black t-shirt, who asks to let him go. A guy in a black t-shirt is grabbed by both hands and he shouts that if any of them dares to touch his sister, he will kill them all. A muscular guy with pink hair punches him in the stomach and tells him to shut his mouth. With an angry look, he tells the guy in the black t-shirt that he will first break his sister's head and then deal with him. The pink-haired guy goes to the wounded girl. The black-haired girl lies on the ground and cries. She calls her brother. The guy with pink hair smiles evilly and they shout at him to kill her. Other survivors call for her to be killed. The guy in the black t-shirt is crying and yelling at them not to dare touch his sister. The guy with pink hair swings his bat. Someone breaks the glass in the window. The pink-haired guy and the other survivors notice the noise. Zhao Tianlei with an axe in his hand smiles and says that this place is disgusting. Enthusiastic people rejoice at the appearance of the main character. One of them shouts that help has come to them. Another shouts that they heard cries for help and came. Another asks to save them as they are surrounded by zombies. People raise their hands up in joy. Zhao Tianlei shows his finger and says that they have too many people and he can only save one. People look at the main character with a girl and wonder why alone. A balding man in a formal suit puts his hand on his chest and asks the main character to help him, because he is the president of a famous company and will definitely repay. The red-haired girl asks to save her, because she is young and does not want to die. A balding man shows his fist to a girl and shouts at her that saving her is a waste of time. The red-haired girl calls the man an old and ugly pig who is just waiting for the opportunity to touch her. Zhao Tianlei and Cheng Yao watch them with disdain. The main character addresses a guy in a black t-shirt. He asks Li Xiaoyang if his name is with a smile on his face. The guy holds his sister and answers yes. The red-haired girl and the balding man are shocked. Li Xiaoyang wonders why the main character is asking. A muscular man asks the main character if he is crazy. He adds that his sister was bitten by a zombie and will soon mutate. The main character says that he knows and adds that he is not afraid, because the zombies outside are much more dangerous. Cheng Yao looks at him in surprise. The main character, with an indifferent expression on his face, asks a guy in a black t-shirt if he is going with him. Li Xiaoyang takes his sister and says that he will go with the main character. The protagonist takes out a rope and tells the people below that when he takes them both, he will leave the rope here so they can escape. But if anyone dares to grab the rope right now, he will immediately break it. The survivors look at the main character with puzzled looks. The red-haired girl reaches out to the guy in the black t-shirt and says that she was just completely scared and talking nonsense. She cries and tells him that he knows that she is like a little sister to him. She tells him that she loves him and they still have to get married. She holds his hand and asks if this is true. Li Xiaoyang tells her that now they have nothing to do with her. He tells her that it is her own fault. The girl has a desperate expression on her face. The building is illuminated by bright sunlight. The red-haired girl screams at the guy how dare he leave her here and calls her a scoundrel. The main character and Cheng Yao approach the wounded girl. The protagonist lures the guy in a black t-shirt with his hand and tells him that now it's his turn. Li Xiaoyang gets up and says he can do it himself. The main character smiles slightly and says that this is character. The guy's sister in a black t-shirt is coughing up blood. The brother holds his sister by the shoulders and calls her. Zhao Tianlei says that her blood has already turned black, which means that she will soon become a zombie. Cheng Yao opens his eyes wide and asks what to do now. Li Xiaoyang looks back while his sister trembles. He lifts his sister and then says that he will not be ballast and will carry his sister himself. Zhao Tianlei says that this is not good because he spent so much effort to save them, but did not even hear words of gratitude. The protagonist asks him how he can escape with his sister when there are zombies everywhere. A guy in a black t-shirt looks at his sister with sadness on his face. The main character offers to go with him to a safe place. A drop of sweat runs down Li Xiaoyang's face and he agrees. They open the doors to a spacious room. A girl with black hair tells her brother that she feels bad. The brother hugs his sister and tells her that he will take her to the doctor. Cheng Yao sits on the floor and tells the guy to stop deceiving himself, because there is no medicine that would make her human. And even if there is, they will hardly have time to find it. The main character with a dissatisfied expression on his face tells the girl not to talk like that. Li Xiaoyang tells the blue-haired girl that his sister will be fine. Cheng Yao looks down and calls him stupid. The main character sat on the floor and thought that this little sister was so pitiful, because even if there was a cure, there was no chance that she would become human. The main character looks at them silently. The main character with a serious expression on his face tells the guy that if he wants to stop his sister's suffering, there is one way. Li Xiaoyang asks what kind of method this is. The main character hands him an axe and offers to kill her to stop the suffering. A guy in a black t-shirt looks at a shiny axe. The protagonist has a stern expression on his face. Li Xiaoyang asks that they really want their sister to die like everyone else. He cries and hugs his sister and says that even if his sister becomes a zombie, He will not allow anyone to be hurt. Cheng Yao opened her mouth wide and exclaimed that she could no longer be saved. The black-haired girl calls her brother. She says with a drop of sweat on her face that they are good people and it's better not to argue with them. Li Xiaoyang cries and grits his teeth. His sister says that she doesn't want to turn into these ugly zombies after death, and therefore asks him to kill her before she hurts anyone. The black-haired girl cries and asks to do what she asks. Her brother closes his eyes and screams that he won't let her die. His sister asks the main character if she can ask for one thing. She touches her brother's face and says that her brother looks a little fierce, but he is a good person, even if he is a little stupid and impulsive. She adds that he often inexplicably fights with people, for which he received many injuries. She smiles and says that she stopped her brother before, so she asks the main character and the girl to take care of him. The protagonist smiles and tells the girl to be sure that he will keep an eye on him and will not allow him to do anything stupid. The sister of a guy in a black t-shirt tells him not to be sad and asks him to find a normal girl when she dies. She says that her brother said that after they get married, their family will travel all over the world, so she asks him to promise that he will find himself a normal girl and travel with her around the world. She adds that she will watch from heaven. Li Xiaoyang trembles and tells his sister what he promises her. His sister suggests making a pinky promise. Her brother cries and says it's good. They touch their little fingers. The sister closes her eyes. The brother cries even more. He screams for his sister. The main character and Cheng Yao have sad expressions on their faces. The sister lowers her head. Her skin darkens, and her brother asks her what happened. Cheng Yao says with a surprised expression that she has turned into a zombie. Zhao Tianlei gives the guy the axe and tells him to do it if he doesn't want her to become a zombie. The girl's hair turns green and she trembles. Li Xiaoyang is holding an axe with a frightened expression on his face. He throws the axe to the floor. He sinks to the ground and says that he cannot raise a hand against her because she is his sister. Zombified sister reaches out to her brother. The main character gritted his teeth. Cheng Yao was scared. The protagonist hits the zombified girl from behind. Li Xiaoyang cries with a desperate expression. The main character looks down and apologizes. They set fire to the corpse of a zombified girl. Li Xiaoyang looks at the fire with a sad expression. He holds 2 hairpins in his hand and says that he will try to live. He makes a serious expression on his face and says that he will travel all over the world and fulfill her wish. A guy in a black t-shirt asks the main character if he can follow them. He turns to the main character with a stern expression on his face. The main character smiles slightly and says that of course, because this is the desire of his younger sister. The protagonist extends his hand to him and says that he is glad to meet you. Li Xiaoyang has a confident look. The two of them shake hands. Moonlight illuminates a multi-story building. The 3 of them enter the apartment. Cheng Yao says that this is a very good place and they will stay here tonight. She adds that there are all amenities, a toilet, a working shower. The blue-haired girl looks out the window. The main character asks Li Xiaoyang what he is worth and asks him to pass. A guy in a black t-shirt sits opposite the protagonist and the girl, and then tells them that he doesn't know their names. The main character says that they are students from a Chinese business college and his name is Zhao Tianlei, and her name is Cheng Yao. The blue-haired girl is welcomed with a new companion. The main character smiles and tells the guy that he is older than him, so he can call him Tianlei or Brother Tianlei. The blue-haired girl asks Li Xiaoyang to tell him about himself since they don't know much about him. With a captivated look, she says that she wonders how he met that girl, because he trusted her so much, but she used him. The main character looks at her with contempt. The guy in the black t-shirt says that he was born into a rural family and his parents died early, and only brothers and sisters remained in their family. He adds that since he studied a little martial art, he decided to become stronger in order to be a master and feed his sister. With a desperate expression on his face, he says that as for Lan, she was introduced by relatives. He adds that he was surprised that the beautiful girl was ready to deal with him until today, when she showed her true colors. Li Xiaoyang says that the 3 of them went to the park for a walk and a zombie outbreak began. He adds that while running away, Lan fell, and his younger sister protected her with her body and was bitten by a zombie, and then they ran to the supermarket along with the crowd. Cheng Yao with a dissatisfied expression on his face says that scoundrel said that no one needs his sister. She adds that she deserves to die from zombies. The girl gives a thumbs up and tells Li Xiaoyang to be sure that he is a normal guy and knows kung fu at that. She adds that there will be a girl who is 100 times better than that scoundrel, who will sincerely love him. The guy blushed a little after these words. Cheng Yao cuddles up to the main character and says that it won't be her, because she already has her cute Zhao Tianlei. The main character asks her what she is doing. The protagonist notices something and says that he hears sounds. Cheng Yao looks at the main character and asks what the sounds are, and then asks why she can't hear anything. The main character, with a stern look on his face, opens the wooden door. Outside the door, several zombies are walking along the corridor. Cheng Yao covers his mouth and asks why there are zombies in the corridor. Li Xiaoyang says that they just checked the hotel, there are iron gates. He asks how they got here. The main character, with a confident expression on his face, says that they were probably in some room and didn't notice them. The main character looks at his comrades and offers to deal with them. Li Xiaoyang asks the main character if he is joking. Cheng Yao tells him to go already. The main character, with an axe in his hand, tells the guy in the black t-shirt not to worry, because he will protect him. He adds that they must deal with them. Li Xiaoyang stands with a bat in his hand. The zombies turn their attention to the survivors. The main character says that here they are. Zombies run towards the main character and his comrade. Zhao Tianlei cuts down one of the zombies. He receives a system notification that he has received 1 unit of experience. The protagonist kills several zombies at once. He thought that he could see an increase in experience like in a real game, and that was so cool. He adds that it feels like he can kill them forever, and then points out that this is the power of evolution. Li Xiaoyang fights 2 zombies at once with a bat. He clenched his teeth and brandished his weapon. A zombified woman with green hair reaches out to him. The guy in the black t-shirt saw his sister in it. The zombie knocks the guy to the ground. He holds her head, preventing her from biting him. He grabbed her hand and held it. The main character calls him stupid and tells him to attack her. Several more zombies run towards Li Xiaoyang. Cheng Yao, with a scared expression on his face, tells him to be careful. She throws it at one of the zombies. Several zombies take notice of her. The girl looks at the zombie with concern on her face. She closes the door and the living dead try to knock it down. The main character asks Li Xiaoyang what he is waiting for and asks him to kill her. The guy in the black t-shirt clenched his teeth and said he couldn't do it. The main character hits a zombie. He defeated several zombies at a wooden door, and a blue-haired girl peeks out to watch him. Several defeated zombies lie on the ground. Cheng Yao tells the main character that the guy may not be able to cope and he needs help. The protagonist crosses his arms and says that Li Xiaoyang thinks that if he has comrades, then he can rely on them. He adds that the guy can't even kill a zombie. The main character invites the girl to go to bed. Li Xiaoyang gritted his teeth. Cheng Yao says that if you don't save him, he will be eaten by zombies. The main character pushes the girl into the room and says that the guy will just meet his sister in the next world. But he thinks that his sister must not have expected to see her brother so soon. Li Xiaoyang opens his eyes wide. He punches the zombie. The zombified girl flies far back. The main character and the blue-haired girl turn around and look at the guy. The zombie girl screams and attacks the guy in the black t-shirt again. The guy gets up from the floor. He performs a powerful punch to the zombies. He screams loudly while attacking. He sits on the zombified girl and punches her. Zombified girl screams in pain. Li Xiaoyang looks full of anger. He lands another punch to her neck. The main character has a serious expression on his face. He thought that the guy was strong, since he was able to smash the head of a zombie with 1 blow. The blue-haired girl closes her mouth. The main character puts his hand forward and says that the girl is already dead. Li Xiaoyang swings his fist at the main character. The protagonist stops his attack with his palm. Zhao Tianlei, with a stern expression on his face, asks the guy in the black t-shirt if he is crazy for deciding to attack him too. Li Xiaoyang, with a menacing look, shouts to the main character that he didn't even help, but stood and watched. The protagonist takes his hand to the side and tells the guy that if he had not helped, he would have died in the supermarket. The guy in the black t-shirt has a very angry expression on his face. The main character tells Li Xiaoyang that he saved him to help him fight, but he can't even protect himself. The guy in the black t-shirt replies that he didn't do it on purpose. There are several defeated zombies lying in the corridor. The main character says that as soon as a person becomes a zombie, he is no longer a person, and if you don't kill him, he will bite. Cheng Yao, Zhao Tianlei, and Li Xiaoyang are standing opposite each other. The main character tells the guy that the only reason he didn't help was because he wanted him to change. He adds that the guy needs to stop thinking about his sister as soon as he sees a zombie, because his sister is dead, and the result of his actions can be very bad. A drop of sweat runs down the blue-haired girl's cheek. She tells the guy in the black t-shirt that Zhao Tianlei is right and asks him not to forget that his sister was the one who worried about him the most before she died. She asks him what if he had just been bitten by a zombie. Li Xiaoyang looks down and tells the boss that he was too impulsive, so he misunderstood everything. He bows and tells the main character that today he saved his life and therefore should show gratitude. The main character and the blue-haired girl listen to him. The guy in the black t-shirt tells the main character that he is very grateful to him and from today on he will be his brother. He tells him with a stern expression to be sure to follow him in the future and not be soft to keep everyone safe. The main character puts his hand on his shoulder and tells him not to disappoint his sister. Lee Zioang, with a confident look, replies that he will do so. The multi-story building is illuminated by the morning light. On TV they say that bases for survivors have already been created, each of which is protected by an army and supplied with sufficient food. But one base can accommodate at least 100,000 people. The announcer adds that here are the locations of the bases to which you need to go as soon as possible. Lee Zioang, with a smile on his face, says that the state has built a base of survivors and now they can be safe. The blue-haired girl says that base number 6 is in Yuzhou and this is the same direction that Zhao Tianlei spoke about. The blue-haired girl asks the main character why he looks upset. The main character, with a stern expression on his face, says that before he thought that this was good and did not think about the potential danger. Cheng Yao, with a puzzled look, asks the main character what danger they are talking about. The protagonist asks how many people are in Yuzhou. The blue-haired girl replies that it's about 100 million. The city is illuminated by sunlight. Zhao Tianlei says that Yuzhou has a population of 100 million people, and even if only 1/10 of them survive, there are still 10 million left. But there is only one base in the entire state, which can only accommodate 100,000 people. He asks them what this means. Li Zioang and Cheng Yao look at the main character in surprise. The protagonist, with a stern expression on his face, says that these bases look like an escape platform for survivors. But once the population exceeds the limit in the base, problems will arise. The main character grabbed his knees and says that those who came first have already formed their own groups and forces, and other people will not be allowed in just like that. And because of this, chaos begins. The protagonist's face is illuminated by sunlight. He says that even more importantly, the more people there are, the greater the shortage of materials will be, and then people will start a riot. He adds that he is afraid that even the government and the army will not be able to cope with this. Li Zioang says that his grandfather said that when he was a child, his home village was flooded and the flood destroyed the safe road, causing everyone to be trapped. He adds that the people did not have anything to eat, so they began to eat each other, and by the time the rescuers arrived, almost all the people had killed and eaten each other. Cheng Yao, with concern on his face, asks if they won't go to the base. The main character says that he would say no, but he still has to go, because Wu Bin and the others heard the news and will rush there. The protagonist crosses his arms and says that there is no need to place high hopes on the base. A shadow falls on the main character's face and he says that at such a time you don't need to trust everyone, so he relies only on himself. Cheng Yao and Li Zioang lowered their gaze. A red laser shines next to a guy in a black t-shirt. He asks where this laser comes from. The main character has a surprised look. He comes to the window and says that the laser is from the opposite building. The protagonist opens a window from which a laser shines. He sees two figures in the opposite building. The guy with binoculars in his hand says that there really is someone there. A man with brown hair shines a laser. The blonde puts her hands forward and says that they are watching. The survivors from the opposite building raise their hands. One of them shouts that they are stuck, and the other asks to save them. The main character shouts and asks what is going on with them. Cheng Yao says that they are too far away and cannot hear them. Li Zioang raises his hand. He places two hands on his chest. He knocks on the windowsill. In sign language, he asks the people in the building opposite what was going on with them. People on the opposite side don't understand what the guy in the black t-shirt is doing. Cheng Yao asks the guy in the black t-shirt where he learned sign language. Li Zioang puts his hand on the back of his head and says that he probably learned from TV. The main character goes towards the exit and says that the survivors are trapped in the building, so you need to go there and see for yourself. Someone asks the people near the window what they are doing, after which they turn around. It was a man with purple hair wearing a business suit. His name is Gu Wiping and he is the general manager of Tianqi Entertainment Company. The guy with the binoculars turns around and tells the guy in the business suit that there are people opposite the hotel and maybe they can help. The guy asks to let him look, and then looks through binoculars. He doesn't see anyone in the apartment and asks why he doesn't see anything. The survivor tells him that they were just there and they looked like three 20-year-old students from some school. Gu Wiping returns the binoculars to the owner and says that he thought it was someone from the army. He says with a gloomy look that three students cannot even protect themselves and how can they save them. He adds that there is no need to place false hopes on them. A girl approaches him and says that they can save them. This is a girl with pink hair with her secretary. She says the name Gu Wiping. The girl has blue eyes. Jen Binyan, 24, chairman of Tianqi Entertainment. The guy in the gray t-shirt notices that the chairman is here. The CEO apologizes and says he was too impatient. With a serious expression on his face, he says that they have not had food for 2 days and they are too hungry, so he is not sure that they will be saved. He asks if he should send people to see if there are zombies inside the building. The secretary with glasses asks Gu Weiping if he is hungry. Tong Zai, 22 years old, secretary. The woman with glasses says that after the chairman distributed the food evenly, she encouraged everyone to save on food, and if they finished all their food in half a day, it does not mean that they need to risk other people to find food. Gu Weiping got angry and tells Tong Zai that even if she is the chairman's secretary, it doesn't mean she can be arrogant. He adds that now the CEO and the chairman of the company are talking and how dare she interfere. Zhen Bingyang reports that Tong Zai is saying the right things because they are the leaders of the company and must be responsible for the safety of employees. She adds that at present the circumstances are unknown and people cannot afford to take risks. Gu Weiping has a drop of sweat running down his cheek and says that they can't sit still. The chairman replies that if everything is in order, the state will act and send a rescue team to search for survivors. She throws up her hands and tells the survivors to check if there is a network here, and if someone has it, then they can turn to the military, which is much safer than risking themselves. Sunlight falls on Zhen Bingyang. She says that they should have faith in the government and not lose hope, so they should hold on and they will be saved soon. One of the survivors says that the chairman is talking business. Another survivor tells the chairman that they are listening to her. Gu Weiping pays attention to the words of the people behind him. His eyes glow purple. A man comes and says that Chairman Zhen said that everything is fine. The chairman turns to the source of the voice and calls the man Mr. Yamada. The fat man says he still wants to protest. Yamada, R&D director at Islando Games. He says that he came here at the invitation of her company to talk about cooperation, but there was a virus outbreak. He asks the girl to immediately find out how he can leave this place safely, otherwise he will file a lawsuit when he returns home. Zhen Bingyang bows and tells Mr. Yamada that she sincerely hopes for cooperation, but no one expected such an unexpected event. She adds that she deeply regrets this outburst. A bead of sweat runs down her cheek. She tells the fat man that she cannot accompany him and there are a lot of zombies outside and it is very dangerous to go out there. She throws up her hands and tells the man that she is already working on it and hopes that he will calm down a little. He adds that he promises that her company will fully compensate for all losses after everything is over. Yamada approaches the chairman and tells her that he hopes she will keep her word. The girl fakes a smile and replies that of course. She turns around and tells Gu Weiping to take Mr. Yamada back to the office to rest. A guy in business clothes replies that everything is fine. He approaches the fat man to follow him. Zhen Bingyang closes his eyes and exhales. They leave with the secretary. The secretary asks the chairman if she thinks the military will actually send someone to save them. Zhen Bingyang closes his eyes and says that he is not sure, but at this time it is better not to create unnecessary panic. Tong Zai, with concern on her face, says that their food will only last for 2 days and she wants to say what will happen if no one comes by then. But the chairman interrupts her. The chairman says that if no one comes at that time, then there will be no other choice. They walk towards the double doors. There is a gold plaque at the entrance to the room. Yamada eats a variety of different snacks. A bead of sweat runs down Gu Weiping's face. Yamada sits surrounded by a lot of food and 2 women. He says that if he knew that this would happen, he would not have come here to talk about this garbage, because even now, there are hot springs on the island of Kyushu that are well maintained. He eats the cookies and asks Gu Weiping why he hasn't left yet. The guy points his finger at the food and asks if he can have some food, because he has been hungry for 2 days. Yamada, with a dissatisfied expression on his face, asks the guy if he is sick, and then adds that this is all he brought with him and will eat it until the rescuers arrive. He asks why on earth he should share. A guy with purple hair comes up to a fat man and tells him that when he said that they didn't bring him food, they shared it with him and his secretaries, which is why there is now a lot of food. Yamada asks so what? Gu Weiping stands with a shocked look. The fat man tells him to get out of here, otherwise he will kick him out himself. The guy with purple hair turns towards the exit. A fat man chooses food. He asks Gu Weiping to stop, after which the guy turns around. Yamada put one foot on the other and says that in their country there is a saying, whoever doesn't work, doesn't eat. He adds that if a guy wants food, then he needs to fulfill one request. The guy with purple hair smiles and says that he will fulfill any request. He eats snacks and says that to be honest, he had no interest in working with their company. He adds that he came because of their chairman. Yamada says that Chairman Jen is the most beautiful woman he has ever seen. Wiping opens his eyes wide. Yamada tells him that if he brings the chairman, then all the food will be his. He pushes the food to the other end of the table. Wiping puts his hands forward and says that she is his boss, and then asks how he can bring her to them and whether his career will be ruined if he does so. Yamada laughs and tells the guy that he is really funny. He adds that this country is already over, and then asks what kind of reputation he can talk about. Wiping has a shocked expression on his face. Yamada tells the guy that all this time he was just the CEO, and she even became the chairman. He adds that even her secretary talks to him like he's trash, and then asks her if she really wants to continue working like this. The guy with purple hair made a serious expression on his face. Yamada smiles and tells him that she will appoint him as director of her company if he fulfills the request. The girl with brown hair blows a kiss and says that girls in their country are very gentle. Wiping says he will fulfill the request. He looks down and tells Yamada that he hopes he will also keep his promise. The fat man smiles disgustingly. He throws the guy bread in a transparent bag and says that he always keeps his word. A guy with purple hair catches bread. The main character and his team are walking along the corridor. Cheng Yao notices that it is so quiet here. Li Xiaoyang says that perhaps all the zombies from this building have already left, but people are still afraid to leave. The main character looks around. Zhao Tianlei looks at his comrades and tells them not to worry, because there should be at least 20 zombies on this floor, and there are even more on the floor above. The blue-haired girl tells the main character that his hearing is incredible, because they don't notice anything. The guy in the black t-shirt agrees with her words. Several mannequins with swords stand nearby. The main character tells Li Xiaoyang to catch something, causing the latter to make a surprised expression. A guy in a black t-shirt catches a large sword. The main character points his finger at him and tells him that although he knows martial arts, it is dangerous to fight zombies with his bare hands, so this sword will suit him. A guy in a black t-shirt takes a fighting stance. He swings his sword. He looks at the sword and says that this sword is not bad, after which he thanks the main character. Cheng Yao shouts that they are here. Many zombies are walking along the corridor. The main character with an axe in his hand shouts that he will deal with the zombies, and Li Xiaoyang orders to protect Cheng Yao. There is a black and gold sign on the door. Wiping knocks on the door and calls for the chairman. Zhen Bingyong asks him if something happened. The guy with purple hair says he has something to discuss. Tong Zai asks Wiping what he wants to talk to the chairman about. A drop of sweat runs down the guy's face. He says that now they have little food and he is afraid that they will not last until the rescuers arrive. He says with a small smile that is why he and Mr. Yamada came up with a plan to save themselves, and he would like the chairman to discuss this plan with them. Zai Tong tells the chairman that it is better to be careful, because this Yamada is strange and it is better not to be alone with him. Wiping has a dissatisfied expression on his face. He thought that this stupid girl, who had never accepted him, thought his plan was strange. Zhen Bingyong with a calm look tells him that he and Mr. Yamada have come up with a plan and want to discuss it with her. The purple hair guy says that this is true and they don't know if this plan can be successful, so they want to discuss this plan with the chairman. He adds that if the girl considers this plan successful, then they will act on this plan. He spreads his hands and says that if Secretary Tong is worried, then let him go with them. Zhen Bingyong looks at his secretary. The chairman responds positively to the subordinate's proposal, after which Wiping smiles. A white corridor with many doors is only half lit. The zombie falls to the ground. Li Xiaoyang defeats zombies with a sword. The main character crosses his arms and tells the guy that he quickly adapted. Cheng Yao says that if you compare what happened yesterday and today, then he is a completely different person. The guy in the black t-shirt smiles and says that this sword is just very convenient. Cheng Yao notices the elevator and talks about it. According to the electronic board, the elevator is located on the 3rd floor. The three of them stand near the elevator. The main character says that currently the electricity is very unstable, and who knows whether the elevator will stop. Cheng Yao asks if they will go up the stairs. She adds that if there are so many zombies on each floor, then nothing will happen to them. The main character smiles and says that we need to start from there. The protagonist looks at the ventilation grill and says that there are no zombies on this path. Wiping and two girls enter the office. The guy smiles and tells Mr. Yamada that they have arrived. The fat man opens his eyes wide and smiles. Zhen Bingyong and Tong Zai stand with stern looks. Yamada, surrounded by two of his subordinates, says welcome. The secretary and the chairman look at each other. Zhen Bingyong tells Mr. Yamada that Wiping said that they came up with a plan to save them. Yamada smiles and says that it is. He says his plan is great. The secretary draws attention to the abundance of food. Tong Zai, with a dissatisfied expression on his face, asks the fat man if he said that he has no food and what is it then. Yamada said with a thoughtful look that he forgot about it, but recently found it in his luggage. The secretary asks him if he really thinks this is plausible. She adds that everyone is hungry now and even the chairman only ate one piece of bread yesterday, and then asks him if he really didn't think of sharing this food with the others. Jen Bingyang tells the subordinate to forget about it. She says with an angry expression that what happened doesn't make sense. Yamada gets up from his seat and asks the chairman if he and his secretary are only eating a couple of pieces of bread. He smiles and hugs Jen Bingyang to himself and then says that he will share food with them. The secretary, with dissatisfaction on his face, calls the chairman. The chairman, with a frightened expression on his face, asks Yamada what he is doing. The fat man stuck out his tongue and asked her if she really didn't understand. He adds that he gets paid for the food. He pushes the girl onto the sofa. He presses her to the sofa and says that he has been thinking about her for a long time. Tong Zai yells at the fat man to let the chairman go. Gu Wiping slaps the secretary in the face. The beaten girl trembles and looks at the guy in fear. The guy with purple hair made a crazy expression on his face and tells the secretary that everything is her fault. He calls the girls stupid and then tells them that they always treated him like trash, but today they will pay. Yamada smiles evilly and tells the guy with purple hair that it's a good job. Yamada's secretaries watch what is happening with a smile. Jen Bingyang cries and asks to let her go, and then asks for help. Yamada tells her that he asked her staff to be in the conference room at the end of the corridor. He presses the girl even harder and says that this office is soundproofed, so she can scream as much as she wants. A voice comes from the ventilation. The main character and his team fall out of the ventilation. The main character tells Cheng Yao that she needs to lose weight. Cheng Yao asks the main character how he can call her fat. Li Xiaowang asks to get off him. The main character looks around and asks what is happening here. He sees the purple-haired guy attacking the secretary. Besides this, he sees Yamada, who attacked the chairman. A blushing Li Xiaowang apologizes for the interruption and adds that they did not intend to disturb them. Zhao Tianlei, with a serious expression on his face, tells his comrade that this is not what he thought. Tong Zai asks to help them. Yamada yells at the main character and his men to get out of here. Zhao Tianlei with a stern look tells the man that he is not from China. Cheng Yao asks the fat man how he can behave like this when the world is in chaos. The guy in the black t-shirt calls them scoundrels. Li Xiaowang takes out his sword from behind his back and jumps at the fat man. The fat man's secretaries run away. The guy in the black t-shirt throws a punch, but the fat guy jumps away. He lands nearby. He gets into a fighting stance. Li Xiaowang, with a dissatisfied expression on his face, thought that although this scoundrel is fat, he is very dexterous and really he studied martial arts. Tong Zai holds the trembling chairman and asks her if she is okay. Yamada tells the guy that it means he has kung fu, and now they can test whose martial art is better. The fat man tells the guy that if he is a real man, then he should throw away his weapon and fight with his bare hands. Li Xiaowang, with a menacing expression on his face, says that his bare hands are enough to defeat him. The fat man kicks the mirror and says that he will kill them before he can spend time with that beauty. Li Xiaowang hits the mirror. Yamada hits his enemy. A guy in a black t-shirt blocks an enemy's blow. Cheng Yao tells the main character that this man looks quite strong and maybe he should help them. The main character replies that it is better for them not to interfere, and Li Xiaowang will handle him. He tells the girl to just have faith in their comrade. A guy in a black t-shirt dodges many punches from a fat man. Li Xiaowang parries a few more punches with his hands. The fat man's eyes turn red with anger. He swings at a guy in a black t-shirt. He throws another punch, but the guy in the black t-shirt dives down. Li Xiaowang grabs the fat man. His eyes glow purple and energy emanates from them. He throws his opponent to the floor. Yamada screams loudly due to pain. The defeated fat man lies on the ground and trembles. A man in a black t-shirt spits on his enemy and asks him if this is all his strength. Yamada closes his eyes and says that he gives up and loses. Cheng Yao raises his hand and tells Li Xiaowang that he is great. The main character has his arms crossed and smiles. The guy in the black t-shirt turns his back to his enemy. The fat man rises from the ground. He stood up and looked at the guy leaving. The main character shouts to his friend to be careful. Yamada takes out a knife and attacks Li Xiaowang. He jumped on a guy in a black t-shirt. A guy in a black t-shirt notices an enemy attacking him. He blocks his attack and grabs his wrist. He punches the fat man in the face. He clenched his teeth in anger. His blow pushes the old man far back. He falls to the ground with a deafening crash. Cheng Yao with a surprised look says that this fat man talked about a fair fight, but he himself hid a knife in his pocket. Li Xiaoyang thanks the main character for helping him choose the right path. Zhao Tianlei says that the Japanese are simply not like them, and when it comes to a fight, you need to be more careful with them. The chairman's people run into the room. Gu Wiping has a frightened expression on his face. He sits on the floor and apologizes to the chairman. He presses his hand to his chest and says that Yamada made him do it. He adds that he obeyed him for a moment, but will not do it again. The secretary hits the guy in the face. Tong Zai shouts Gu Wiping's name with a menacing look. She tells him that the chairman trusted him all along. The guy closes his eyes. The secretary tells him that at a critical moment he sold the chairman for food. Zhen Bingyong covers his face with his hand. One of the chairman's men grabs Gu Wiping. They call him a traitor and try to take revenge. The chairman's men kick Yamada. Tong Zai asks the chairman what she is going to do with them. Zhen Bingyong orders to tie them both up and lock them in the back room and hand them over to the rescuers when they arrive. The fat man and the guy with purple hair were tied up. Gu Wiping shouts that he knows what he did was wrong, so he asks him to spare him and give him another chance. The fat man shouts that he is a famous person and no one has the right to touch him. He orders him to be released or he will return to his country and sue. The main character crosses his arms and says that now that there is an outbreak of the zombie virus all over the world, their small state has probably long ago become a zombie state. He asks Yamada where he is going to return. The fat man tells the main character not to talk nonsense. The fat man's secretaries cling to the main character. The girl with red hair tells the main character that they are innocent. The girl with black hair asks for help. Cheng Yao pushes the girls with an angry expression and tells them to get out of here, and then asks them if they are embarrassed to hug someone else's boyfriend. Li Xiaoyang asks with a surprised look whether these two girls are from another country. Zhen Bingyong tells the protagonist and his men to tie up the fat man with his subordinates, and then lock him in the conference room. Zhao Tianlei, with a dissatisfied expression on his face, tells the girl that they are not her people, so they do not need to be told. The angry chairman points out that the protagonist called her big sister. The chairman points his finger at the main character and asks him what kind of older sister she is to him. Tong Zai asks the chairman to calm down. The protagonist and Li Xiaoyang blushed. The guy in a black t-shirt asks if they are big. They look at the girl's torso. The chairman shouts and asks the guys where they are looking. The secretary asks the lady what she is doing, and then tells her that there is no need to hit people. There are many books and antiques on the shelves. The chairman with the secretary and the protagonist's team are sitting at the table opposite each other. Zhen Bingyong crossed her arms and made an angry expression. Tong Zai asks the main character and his men to drink water and not take what happened to heart. The guy in the blue t-shirt tells the other guy that he has never seen the chairman so angry. The guy in the gray t-shirt tells him that the chairman is now only 24 years old. She of course hates people who call her big sister. Zhao Tianlei, with a dissatisfied expression on his face, tells the chairman that if it weren't for them, she would have become a toy for that Japanese man, and then asks why they started beating him instead of thanking him. Zhen Bingyong with a serious expression says that it was an act of violence, and if Tong Zai had called for help in time, then they would not have needed help. Zhao Tianlei crossed his arms and asked if they were also to blame and maybe they shouldn't have helped at all. The secretary asks the main character to calm down and drink water. The angry chairman is outraged by the words of the protagonist. Tong Zai hands a glass of water to the chairman and says that her lady is furious, but she is very grateful. She smiles and offers to introduce herself formally. She says that her lady is the chairman of their company Tianqi Entertainment. Zhen Bingyong, the secretary, introduces herself as Tong Zai and says that she is the chairman's assistant. Cheng Yao asks Business Academy graduate Lai Zhen Bingyong with a surprised look. Zhen Bingyong with a gloomy look asks the blue-haired girl if she knows her. The blue-haired girl with an inspired story tells her that she is in the biography of their academy, and within a year after graduating from the academy, she founded her own company, and after graduating from the academy she already gave other students the opportunity to intern with her. Cheng Yao with a smile on her face tells the chairman that she is her idol and goddess. The chairman replies that she is glad to hear. The main character tells the chairman that it is not surprising that her company behaves so imperiously, because like the creator, so is his company. The girl gets angry and asks the main character what he means. The protagonist crosses his arms and tells the girl that last summer he came to their company for an internship and he met all the requirements, but his application was rejected because he wore an old shirt. He made a contemptuous expression and says that the interviewer laughed at him for being poor and immediately sent him home. The chairman looks down and tells the main character that maybe that interviewer was bad, but the main character should know that the image of the employee is the face of the company, and if he wants to apply, He should dress himself in decent clothes to demonstrate sincerity. The main character replies that not only he suffered, but also other students who excelled in their studies. He adds that rich people were admitted instead. The chairman turns to the secretary and asks if this happened in their company. Tongzai replies that Gu Wiping was in charge of new people's vacancies and she heard that he only selected rich people. The protagonist, with a stern expression on his face, tells the chairman that if their internship is only for rich people who want to experience life, then they shouldn't give other studious students false hope. Jen Bingyong says with downcast eyes that it is indeed the negligence of their management, and she apologizes to him and his classmates. The chairman's people are discussing what is happening. One of them tells the main character to forget about the past. Another person asks what is the point of remembering these little things at a time like this. Another of them says that now the most important thing is to survive. A man with black hair with a worried look on his face says that the signal in this building was turned off, and they could not contact the military, and then asks what is happening outside and when the military will come to their aid. The main character and Cheng Yao look at each other. Zhao Tianlei tells the chairman and her people that there are now zombies all over the world, and if they want to be saved, they need to refuse the help of the military. The main character says that although the news says that the government sent rescue teams to search for surviving people, they came here from school and have never seen from the so-called rescue team. People panic because of the protagonist's lair. A man with black hair with concern on his face says that there must be some way out of this situation, and then asks the main character to help them. The protagonist says that the vent is so narrow that even 3 of them could barely fit through it, so it's unlikely the others will be able to. He throws up his hands and says that there are a lot of zombies in this building, and even if they get to the first floor, he cannot guarantee that they will leave safely. Jen Bingyong asks with a serious expression if there is really another way. The protagonist says that there is only one way out, after which several survivors smile. He crosses his arms and says that however, they spent a lot of effort and now they just want to eat and find a comfortable place to rest. He adds that when the stomach is full, the brain works better. Zhao Tianlei says with a sinister look that as he sees it, this office is not a bad place, and then asks the chairman if she should show a little sincerity. A drop of sweat runs down the chairman's cheek. She says that they will leave the premises and allow the protagonist's group to rest here. The survivors discuss what is happening. One of them says that he thinks that these people are not bad and maybe they will really save them. Another survivor says they cannot fully rely on others and must rely on themselves. Zhen Bingyang tells his secretary to find the floor plan of the building and look for other exits from the building. The guy with a pitiful look asks the chairman if she has any food left. He adds that many colleagues have not eaten for several days. The secretary and chairman look at the guy. Zhen Bingyang starts to answer, but the secretary interrupts her. Tongzai says that in fact all the food was distributed to everyone and the chairman didn't want to create panic so she didn't talk about it. The surviving subordinates of the chairman have worried expressions on their faces. A man with black hair comes into the room, holding a backpack in his hands. He tells the others not to panic because he brought food. He throws the groceries on the floor. One of the survivors says it looks so delicious. Another asks the guy where he got this food from. The man with black hair smiles and says that he just saw those 3 go into another room, and he snuck inside and took the backpack. Tongzai exclaims that this is theft. The chairman says that this cannot be done and asks him to quickly give them the backpack back. The man takes food out of his backpack and tells the chairman that they see what is happening now, and it is better to eat this food. The chairman with a serious expression on his face says that this is impossible, because they are going to help. The man with black hair says that he explored this building and there is no other way out. He adds that coming out of the vents is the only way. The chairman asks if this is a working method. A man with black hair asks the girl why she trusts them so much. He moves his hand to the side and asks the chairman if they will help when the situation is so dangerous, because if even 3 students can cope with these zombies, then they can too. Zhen Bingyang remains silent after her subordinate's words. The man with black hair says that when they are all done eating, he will go downstairs with his male colleagues and meet with the chairman if there is no problem. Tongzai says that he thinks Van Zhen is right, and then asks why not let them try, because if all else fails, then they can try to get out through the ventilation. The chairman closed her eyes and looked down. She agrees with Van Zhen and adds that we need to be careful. Half of the spacious room is illuminated by sunlight. Someone is removing the ventilation grill. A man with black hair comes downstairs. He looks around. The blonde looks out of the ventilation, and Van Zhen says that it seems safe here. One of the survivors tells the other to be careful because he almost hit him in the face. Another survivor apologizes and says that the ventilation duct is too narrow, so he was unable to close his knees. The blonde puts his index finger to his mouth and tells the others to be quiet because the zombies might hear them. The guy in the brown shirt tells him not to worry. The man in the black shirt says that he thinks that Brother Zhen was right and the situation was much better. Van Zhen smiles and says that the chairman was deceived by these 3 students and there are no zombies here. Near them there is a dark puddle. The blonde throws up his hands and says that yes, the chairman was probably deceived. He asks how long they have to stay in this building. The blonde steps into a puddle. He looks down. He wonders what it is. He looks around the corner and sees a zombie. He shouts that it's a zombie. Van Zhen tells him not to panic because he's probably dead. He is told to be careful and the man approaches the zombie. He tells the others that the zombie has a crack in its head and was probably killed by Zhao Tianlei with his axe. One of the survivors says that he saw this in a movie. A blow to the head kills a zombie. The survivors look at the dead zombie in surprise. Van Zhen finds something and smiles. He takes out a bunch of keys and says that these are the keys to the building. The zombie grabs his hand. He growls and attacks the man. The man with black hair steps back and one of the survivors tells the others to run. Drops of sweat run down Van Zhen's face and he says that even that disciple Zhao Tianlei killed these zombies and they should not be afraid of them. He tosses the keys to a survivor in a black t-shirt. A zombie runs towards a man with black hair. Van Zhen takes the stone object. He hits the zombies. The living dead man falls to the ground. The 3 survivors watch what is happening in amazement. The man punches the zombie several times, shouting the word die. The blonde smiles and says that the zombie is dead. The man with black hair clenched his teeth. The blonde calls Van Zhen the best and asks him if he is the god of war. The guy in the brown shirt says he never knew he was so strong. He throws a stone object on the ground and says that these zombies are not scary and can be easily killed. He smiles and tells the others that they have seen it all themselves and surviving the zombie virus outbreak will not be a problem. Sunlight comes from the windows. Some of the survivors say that Brother Zhen is right. The other guy says they have nothing to fear. The main character is accompanied by 2 comrades and says that these people consider themselves the elite. They only lock the door of their company, although they could have closed the entrance to the stairs, and then he asks if this allows zombies to come and go quietly. He adds that now, having checked all the rooms, they know that access up and down is also blocked. At least they can all guarantee that this floor is safe. The main character closes his eyes and says that when management is without brains, people also suffer. Cheng Yao tells the main character that she doesn't think that he is so stingy, because maybe the main character was denied an interview that year. But now it doesn't matter. She adds that Zhen Bingyang is the chairman and she understands some things. The main character throws up his hands and says who said that it doesn't matter and adds that at that time he pushed back 2 work shifts and focused on preparing for the interview. They are walking down the corridor. The main character says that his friend who went with him was still poor and he had to work on a construction site because he was suspended from school due to debts. He adds that as a result, while working overtime even on a rainy day, he fell from the top floor and became crippled. Zhao Tianlei asks who should compensate for the rest of his life and who cares about him. A bead of sweat runs down Cheng Yao's face. The protagonist with a serious expression on his face says that the higher the position, the greater the responsibility, because their every word, every decision can affect someone else, and if they cannot take responsibility, then let them not do it at all. Cheng Yao calls the main character cool with admiration on his face. A bead of sweat runs down Li Xiaoyang's face. The blue-haired girl clenches her hand into a fist. She says that the history teacher said that the difference between the hero and the leaders is high, because the hero fights and only unites people, convinces them to admire him, wishes loyalty to the leader. The main character looks at the girl and listens to her. She tells the protagonist that she always thought that he had the qualities of a leader, because he makes people believe and leads them along the right path. She looks down and says that however, she does not know whether the main character will stay with her. Light is reflected in the main character's eye. Zhao Tianlei pats the girl on the head and calls her a fool, asking her what she is talking about, because they are his teammates and they will always be together. The blue-haired girl blushed at those words. Part of the dark corridor is illuminated by the sun. The main character tells his comrades that they must remember what he said today. The girl replies that she still hopes that he and the chairman will be able to make peace, because good men do not quarrel with women. The protagonist's team opens the double doors of their room. There is no backpack on the table. They look around and Cheng Yao asks where their backpack is. The chairman and secretary are sitting at the table. Zhen Bingyang put her hands together on the table and said that she doesn't know how Van Zhen and the others are doing because there is no way out. Tong Zai tells her not to worry because some of them are smart and won't take risks. The main character and his comrades enter their room. Zhao Tianlei asks where their backpack is. They find many open packages. Li Xiaoyang tells them that he was the one who stole the food. Cheng Yao asks the chairman why she didn't say that they need food, because these products are important for them too. The main character with a contemptuous look asks the chairman why she did it. A bead of sweat runs down the chairman's face. Li Xiaoyang with an angry expression tells them they saved them, and they thank them by stealing. He adds that if he had known that they were such vile people, he would never have helped. The secretary says that they understand that what they did was wrong, but these are just a few packages of food, and is that really a lot? She adds that they did not steal, but simply borrowed and will give back everything they took. The guy in the black t-shirt shouts to them that his name is Li Xiaoyang, and he was not an excellent student at school, and did not read smart books, but taking other people's things without asking is definitely not borrowing, but theft. A bead of sweat runs down the secretary's face. The chairman, with a straight face, says that they are indeed wrong, because they took the food and did not ask the owners, but their people have already set out on the road, and perhaps they will soon find a way out. She adds that they have so many people that when they go outside, they will bring them twice as much food. The main character with a contemptuous look asks the girl if she really thinks that her people will really be able to return. The chairman asks the main character what he means. Zhao Tianlei, with a calm expression on his face, says that they stayed on the first floor for less than half an hour and it took them a whole hour to go up to the floor above. He asks how long ago her people left. Tong S says with concern on his face that 2 hours ago. The blonde man eats noodles with chopsticks. The survivors who went down eat noodles. The blonde says that they haven't eaten so tasty for several days and can finally eat normally, and it's all thanks to Brother Zhen. The man in the black shirt smiles and asks Van Zhen how he knows there is so much food here. A man with black hair with a smile on his face asks if there is a modeling agency on the second floor. He says that these models fast all year round and train, because when they are hungry, they cannot eat because people from the company can find out about it. He adds that this is why one of the models hid a stove and food here, and when she wanted to eat, she came here and ate. The keys are lying on the floor. Van Zhen says that he saw this several times when he passed by, and when he saw this key, he remembered that there were food supplies here. The guy in the brown shirt eats and says that after they finish, they need to come back quickly so that the others don't worry. A man in a black shirt with a smile on his face looks at the guy in a brown shirt and tells him that he is not a fool, and there is no need to go back, because the chairman is too stupid. He says that Zhen Bingyang is just a stupid girl, because she does not think rationally, and even in such troubled times, she could not come up with a plan to save them. The blonde says that's it. She was even almost beaten by Yamada, so she's really stupid. A guy in a brown shirt takes a piece of meat from a bowl. The guy in the black shirt smiles evilly and says that it is better to follow Brother Zhen and eat only meat. The guy in the brown shirt looks into his bowl. He puts a piece of meat into his mouth. He chews it and tells Van Zhen that after this he is their elder brother and they will only follow him. The black-haired guy laughs and asks not to say that, and then says that they have always been good colleagues and friends. He adds that as long as they trust him, he will treat them like brothers. He clenches his hand into a fist and says that there is a saying, a crisis is also a turning point. He adds that once they were workers and listened to the chairman all day long, but now everything is different and they can all create their own business together. His subordinates agree with him with enthusiastic voices. Someone is knocking on the door. The guy in the brown shirt asks what that sound is. A man in a black shirt asks if there are zombies there. Van Zhen stands up and tells the others not to be afraid, because now they will deal with them and these zombies just look terrible. But they are very stupid and it will not be difficult to kill them. He commands everyone to take weapons and hit them in the head. The survivors arm themselves with the first thing they can get their hands on. Van Zhen asks the others if they are ready. The survivors stand in fighting stances. Someone presses the door handle. The door to the room opens. The zombie runs inside with lightning speed. Veins protrude from his head. Van Zhen with a shocked look says how fast it was and asks what kind of creature it is. The secretary and the chairman are standing in the middle of the hall. Tong Zai says that their people still haven't returned. The chairman looks down and says that perhaps there is a difficult path there, and they were delayed for a while. The main character crosses his arms and asks the chairman if she really believes in this nonsense, because the ventilation ducts are small, and it is simply impossible to stay there, and they have probably already met zombies. Tong Zai says that then they must save people. Li Xiaoyang with a menacing look asks why they should save her people if they stole their food. The secretary asks the guy in the black t-shirt if he really doesn't care, and food is more important to him than the lives of other people. The guy in the black t-shirt replies that what difference does it make, because they were deceived and the food was stolen. The main character closed his eyes and said that he did not think that it was impossible for them to save people. Jin Bingyong asks the main character if he is ready to help. The protagonist crosses his arms and asks to beg him. The chairman trembles after these words. The secretary says that the chairman will not beg him. The main character throws up his hands and says that the chairman of Jen is a business lady, and she must understand that you have to pay for any service, and if she really cares about the lives of her employees, she must sacrifice her dignity. Tong Zai calls the frightened chairman. The chairman accepts the protagonist's conditions and asks him if he will save her employees if she begs him. The main character smiles ominously and says that of course not. Cheng Yao became angry because of these words. The main character props up his chin and says that people are not opponents of zombies at all and they are offered to go and fight them. He adds that he is not some fool to do whatever is asked of him. The chairman shouts and asks the main character if he is deceiving her. The main character tells her that he teaches her to be human. A drop of sweat runs down the chairman's cheek. The protagonist tells the chairman that she has always been on top, and therefore she considers herself better than everyone else. But for them, ordinary people, it often happens that one decision can turn their whole life around. The main character turns around and says that now the world has changed and nothing can be done with pride alone. Zhao Tianlei heads towards the entrance and tells his comrades to follow him. Zhen Bingyang calls the main character a scoundrel. The main character and his team are walking along the corridor. The blue-haired girl says that she thinks that they should help them, and will they really not do anything if they were really attacked by zombies. The protagonist says that he can't watch the chairman show her pride and ask for help without an ounce of sincerity, and if you don't teach her a lesson, she will probably never change. But it's only 3 people, so helping them won't be difficult. The girl blushed after these words. She kisses the main character on the cheek. The protagonist and Li Xiaowang's faces turned red. Zhao Tianlei asks the girl what she is doing and notes that now is not the time for this. Cheng Yao closes her eyes and says that the kiss is her gratitude, because she loves the main character very much. The main character puts his hand to his face and asks him not to say such serious things. Cheng Yao with a happy expression says that this is the first time that the main character accepted her decision, so she will remember this all her life. The main character looks at the blue-haired girl. Li Xiaowang tells the main character that they will go save them. The protagonist replies that he will go alone and there are several girls in this building, so he better protect the survivors and Cheng Yao. Zhao Tianlei turns to his comrades and tells them to remember that if the zombies get here, then they need to hide in some room and wait for him. Li Xiaowang with a straight face says that everything will be fine and the main character better be careful and not worry about them. Cheng Yao smiles and tells the main character that he will be waiting for his return. The protagonist shows them a gesture of approval. The spacious office space is half lit. The main character lands on the floor. He notices that the ventilation holes are open, which means her people got out of here. The main character walks with an axe behind his back and thinks that the first floor is so big. He notices that there is a strong smell of blood. The main character opens the door to the room where the survivors were. He opened the door and looks around. He shifted his pupils to the right. He goes deeper into the room. He sees many boxes in front of him. The main character scatters several boxes. Behind them he sees people lying on the ground. The man in the gray shirt has his eyes wide open. A drop of sweat runs down the protagonist's cheek. The protagonist opens his eyes wide. He takes his axe out from behind his back. A zombie stands in front of the main character. The living dead has sharp teeth. The protagonist looks at the zombie and notices that he is fast, and also that so far all the zombies he has encountered have been slow and unintelligent. He wonders why this zombie is so fast. Zhao Tianlei notices that the eyes of this zombie, unlike ordinary ones, are red. The protagonist, with a serious expression on his face, thought that the system said that some zombies could mutate. The main character imagined several mutated zombies and thought that their bodies are more sensitive, stronger and faster than ordinary zombies. They are the biggest threat to humanity. He stands in front of a zombie with an axe at the ready and thought that it looked like it was a mutated zombie. He makes a menacing expression on his face and tells the zombie to show how strong he is. The zombie runs towards the main character. The living dead makes several attacks, but the main character dodges. A drop of sweat runs down the protagonist's cheek. The zombie growls loudly at the protagonist. He grits his teeth and makes a move. Zhao Tianlei thought that this mutant was really strong and his attacks would be difficult to parry. He rests his hand on the floor. He pushes off the ground and jumps back. He lands on the ground. The protagonist makes a dash towards the zombie. The zombie makes a jump and dodges the main character's attack. He lands on the floor. The main character's eyes glow green. He thought that the zombie was avoiding his axe. The zombie opens its mouth and growls. He runs towards the main character, preparing to attack with his sharp claws. The zombie jumps and the main character runs right under it. The living dead man turns back. He doesn't see anyone behind. The protagonist throws a box at the zombie. The zombie looks around and sees no one. He spreads his arms to the sides and growls loudly. The top of the main character's head peeks out from behind the bookshelves. The protagonist smiles and thought that this was not very smart. He jumps out from behind the bookshelves. He swings an axe at his enemy. The zombie turns towards the enemy. After being hit, green blood pours out of the zombie. The defeated zombie lies on the ground. The protagonist, with a satisfied expression on his face, tells the zombie what uses such speed to him if he cannot even notice him. He pays attention to something. He takes out a white crystal from the zombie and asks what it is. The virtual battle informs the main character that he has found the core. The protagonist looks at his ring and asks the system why it only appears in such situations. He looks at the core in his hand and asks the virtual Og which core he is talking about and why he hasn't seen it before. The virtual god says that the core is a crystal formed in the brain of a mutant. Regular zombies do not have a core, so the protagonist has never seen one. The nuclei range from low to high levels: white, yellow, orange, green, blue, purple, red, and black. It can be used to improve your own characteristics, buy experience and things in the store. For example, a white core can be exchanged for 1 stat point or 10 experience points, and with each new level he will receive more experience and points. The main character stands next to the zombie and says that this core is white, which suggests that this is a regular zombie mutation. He makes a displeased expression on his face. He screams and asks the virtual god why he didn't say this earlier, and whether humanity has a chance to win when zombies evolve. The voice from the ring tells the main character not to worry, because the evolution of zombies requires very strict conditions, and not only does he have to feed on a lot of energy, he also spends a lot of time on it, and the stronger the mutation, the more time and effort he will spend on it. Ultimately, few people can complete the highest evolution. Reaching the black level is very difficult, and there will be no more than 10 such zombies in the entire world. The main character exhales and says that this is more like the truth. He asks the system if it could immediately tell him such important information. The virtual god tells the main character to stop talking nonsense and asks him how he uses the crystal. The protagonist props his chin and says that after meeting with mutated zombies, he understands that he will not need stat points yet. Experience points for killing zombies can accumulate. He snaps his fingers and says that he has decided that he will exchange it for some item in the store. The virtual god announces the activation of the store system. White energy emanates from the crystal. A bright blue light appears. The main character watches what is happening in surprise. A blue system window with a store opens in front of him. An interface with many store products opens. There is a huge list of weapons there. The main character looks through the store and says that there are weapons, food, and useful things. The virtual god from the ring says that this store is somehow faulty, and he can only exchange the core for food. He reports that the main character uses a white crystal, and it can only be exchanged for food and to buy some other item. You need a core with a better class. He adds that in addition, the core is used only for improvements in the system, and not for exchange, and if he wants to take these products, then he also needs to pay experience points. The main character asks the system if it really wants to deceive him and forces him to pay experience points for this. The dissatisfied protagonist looks at the ring. The virtual god reports that he said very clearly that it is necessary to exchange not only resources. 1 stone is not enough. The main character closes his eyes and says that he understood everything. The system says goodbye to the main character. The main character screams and asks the virtual god why he doesn't say something every time. The main character looks to the side and sees a lot of food. There is soup and water on the floor. The protagonist smiles and says that Jen Bingyong employees decided to betray her. The main character collects food and says that they are really valuable. He adds that he should take them to Cheng Yao and they will have a delicious dinner tonight. The protagonist enters the room assigned to his team. He smiles and calls to his comrades, and then tells them to look at what he brought them. He looks around and asks where they are. Someone is asking for help. A drop of sweat runs down the main character's cheek and he thought that someone was calling for help. The protagonist runs along the corridor and thought that there really were zombies here. He opens the double doors. He opened his eyes wide due to shock. Li Xiaoyang holds the wounded Cheng Yao in his hand and asks her not to die with tears in her eyes. Tong Zai clenches his hands into fists and asks Gu Wiping and Yamada to let the chairman go, otherwise they will regret it. Li Xiaoyang shouts at them that they are scoundrels and are using the girl as a shield. He tells them to let her go or he will kill them both. The guy with purple hair shouts that if they take even a step, she will die. Yamada holds a knife to the chairman's neck and says that he has her hostage and he won't be able to do anything. The main character approaches Cheng Yao and asks Li Xiaoyang what's wrong with her. The guy in the black t-shirt is shaking and says that the main character can blame him for this, but he couldn't protect Cheng Yao. Tong Zai, with concern on his face, says that it was Yamada and Wiping. They were able to cut the rope and escaped, and then adds that they took the chairman hostage. Cheng Yao lies with his eyes closed and trembles. Li Xiaoyang says that the girl put herself under the knife and thereby saved the life of the chairman. The guy in the black t-shirt apologizes to the main character. Cheng Yao opens her eyes and tells the protagonist that she promised that she would obediently wait until he returned. But she could not keep her promise. The main character smiles and tells the girl that everything is okay, because he has already returned. Zhen Bingyang says that she is very sorry, because if it weren't for her, this would not have happened. The main character yells at her to shut up. Zhao Tianlei shouts to close the girl's mouth and asks why she didn't send her people to check if they got out. The chairman made a sad expression on her face. The main character asks what is the point of apologizing now. Cheng Yao tells the main character not to be angry, because they were too mean and deliberately cornered Li Xiaoyang. She adds that the chairman should have protected the other employees before they were caught. The main character looks at Yamada, who has the chairman hostage. Cheng Yao says that she is not that bad and is a good leader. The girl coughs due to injury. The main character approaches the blue-haired girl and asks her not to say anything, and he will stop her bleeding. The girl tells the main character that she must tell him the truth. She asks him if he remembers the day when they first met, and she said that she wanted to be his girlfriend. She adds that she didn't really love him then. She says that she then hid in the library and was too scared to find someone who would protect him so that she could survive. But then she began to understand that the protagonist was a good guy, and as long as she was with him, she felt safe, even if there are zombies nearby. Many people stand around the main character's team. Cheng Yao tells the protagonist that she knows that she is not his favorite girl, and therefore decided that she would become his teammate in order to be close to him. But now she can no longer be close to him. The main character lets go of the cloth with which the girl is covered. The blue-haired girl says that even after her death, she thinks that the protagonist will find himself a good girl who will wash his clothes and cook noodles. The main character cries because of what is happening. Cheng Yao, with an exhausted expression on his face, asks the protagonist to promise that he will never forget her. She adds that she doesn't need a place in his heart and just asks him to remember her. The main character shouts that he will never forget her and adds that she will not die because he will not let her die. The blue-haired girl says that she has been through a lot in this world, but the best thing that happened in her life was meeting the protagonist. The girl touches the main character's hand. Cheng Yao says she is very happy and closes her eyes. The main character shouts out the girl's name with a shocked expression on his face. Li Xiaoyang is crying and shaking. The main character loudly shouts the girl's name and hugs her. Tong Zai covers his mouth and cries. Zhen Bingyang cries and says no. Yamada smiles and asks the main character why he looks so sad. He adds that this girl is not bad, but she is nothing compared to the chairman. He offers to make a deal. The fat man smiles evilly and tells the main character that he will allow him to leave here safely, and he himself will give him the opportunity to have fun with Chairman Zhen Bingyang. He makes a scared expression on his face. The main character is beside himself with anger. He lowers the girl to the ground. The protagonist stands with his eyes downcast. He turns towards the two villains. Gu Wiping and Yamada look scared. The main character walks towards them. The guy with purple hair asks the main character what he is going to do. Yamada makes an angry expression on his face and asks the main character if he understands that if he takes even a step, the girl will be killed. Zhao Tianlei tells her to kill her with an indifferent expression. The chairman makes a shocked expression. The secretary and her people are surprised by the protagonist's words. Zhao Tianlei says that if it weren't for her, Cheng Yao would not have died and let her pay with her life. Yamada grits his teeth and says that he is not joking, because he will really kill her. The main character tells him to do it. Beads of sweat run down Yamada's face. The protagonist, with a smile on his face, asks the enemy if he really cannot do this. Yamada is scared, and the main character raises his hand and says that he will do it for him. The protagonist grabs the hand with the Yamada knife. The fat man releases his hostage. Tong Zai runs up to his mistress and asks her if she is okay. Gu Weiping swings a vase at the main character and tells him to go to hell. The protagonist swings his leg at the purple-haired guy. He hits it and breaks the vase. The purple-haired guy falls to the ground. The protagonist looks at Yamada with a dark look. Yamada opens his eyes wide in fear. The protagonist twists the fat man's hand and grabs his shirt. He snatches a knife from the enemy. The main character asks which of the two killed Cheng Yao. Gu Weiping points to the fat man and says that Yamada killed her with this knife. The main character hits the fat man with a knife. Yamada screams loudly due to pain. The main character asks the fat man if he is in pain. Yamada asks Gu Weiping how dare he betray him. The purple-haired guy is shaking. The fat man says that he had to help him hold Zhen Bingyang hostage and he had to grab her to threaten the main character. Zhen Bingyang says that he is lying and it was Gu Weiping who killed Cheng Yao. She adds that she saw it personally. The main character makes a gloomy look. The purple-haired guy has a scared expression on his face. He puts his hand forward and says that he did not want to do this because he wanted to scare her, not hurt her. He adds that he didn't think that she would protect the chairman with her body. He bows and says that he has a mother and a son in his family and they are still waiting for him to return. He apologizes and says that he wants to live. Zhao Tianlei with a stern look asks him if he wants to live and then says that Chen Yao also had a family that was waiting for her, but he did not spare her. He tells the purple-haired guy not to worry because he won't kill him. He adds that even if he killed him 100 times, it would never bring Cheng Yao back. The protagonist grabs him by the clothes. He looks him in the face and says that he has another way. Gu Weiping asks to be released. The corridor is half illuminated by sunlight. The main character leads the villain by the hand, and all the other survivors follow him. Gu Weiping asks the main character where he is taking him. They approach the double glass doors. The protagonist presses the alarm button. The alarm lights up red and plays a loud sound. Alarms are activated throughout the building. A red moon rises above a multi-story building. Zhen Bingyang covers his ears and asks why he turned on the siren. The main character asks if she really wonders why he turned on the siren. He looks at the girl with a gloomy look and says that right now she will see why he did this, because there are a lot of zombies outside this building. Zombies rush towards a multi-story building. They see people behind glass doors. The fat man asks the main character if he is crazy, because zombies are about to break in here. Tong Zai asks if those two are their people. The zombified Van Zhen and another former subordinate of the chairman walk towards the survivors. Zhen Bingyang is trembling out of fear. The main character opens the glass doors. He pushes Gu Weiping out. The protagonist closes the glass door. The purple-haired guy leans his hands on the door and asks to open the door because he doesn't want to die. The main character tells him with a stern expression that Cheng Yao suffered before her death. He adds that fear is far more terrible than death. Drops of sweat are running down the purple-haired guy's face. He's scared. Zombies grab Gu Weiping. The main character says that some people do not immediately become zombies after being bitten, and remain human for some time. The zombies bite the villain, and the main character says that before you turn into a zombie, you will remain conscious and suffer. The zombies throw the guy to the ground and eat him. The main character tells him to enjoy the feeling of being torn to pieces. Tong Zai closes his eyes and face as the chairman watches in horror. The fat man looks at the protagonist in fear. He calls him the devil, and the main character looks at him with a gloomy look. Li Xiaoyang says that the main character is not the devil, asks the fat man how he thinks he felt after the death of the blue-haired girl. Yamada asks to kill him because he wants to die from a person, not like Gu Weiping. Zhao Tianlei asks him if he wants to die and says that everything is not so simple. The main character tells his friend to tie up the fat man and lock him up. He walks towards the other survivors. Zhen Bingyang wants to say something to the protagonist, but stops. The protagonist passes by the girl. Tong Zai looks at the lady with concern. The chairman's face is obscured by shadow. The main character says nothing. The main character leaves the girl. There is a gold plaque hanging on the wall. The chairman's subordinates have worried expressions on their faces. Zhen Bingyang sits at the table and looks down. The girl with gray hair asks what they should do since Van Zhen and Zhang never returned. The girl with brown hair looks down and says that there are now a lot of zombies in the building and they cannot get out. The chairman asks not to call her chairman because she doesn't deserve it. She adds that if she had stopped them, they would not have become zombies. The secretary asks the girl not to talk about this because this is a solution that they applied together and she is not the only one responsible. Zhen Bingyang looks down and says that she was too excited and if she had been calm, she would not have made such a decision. The chairman leans on the table and says that all that remains is to try our best to protect everyone. She says with a confident expression that no one will die again. The switched-on chandelier illuminates the room. The main character sits near the body of Cheng Yao. who is lying on the sofa. The girl's body lies with her arms crossed. The main character asks her why she didn't protect her. Zhao Tianlei says that whenever any danger occurs, you need to think to yourself first. She asks why she acted so impulsively. He asks if there is at least something worthy in that girl to save her at the cost of his life. Someone knocks on the door of the room. Zhen Bingyang opens the front door. The main character asks her what she is doing. The girl looks down and says that she died while saving her and she would like to say goodbye to her one last time. Zhao Tianlei clenched his hand into a fist and tells the girl that he doesn't want to see her. Zhen Bingyang with a sad expression tells the main character that she knows that he hates her because she is to blame for that incident with Yamada and wiping. She throws up her hands and says that Tong Zai and the other employees are innocent, and she begs him to help because now only he can save them. She adds that the protagonist can insult her in any way he wants and asks to help the others. The main character's eyes glow purple. He asks how insulting her will help bring Cheng Yao back to life. A drop of sweat runs down the girl's cheek. The girl with a serious expression on her face tells the main character that then he can do whatever he wants with her and she will not resist. The protagonist says that Cheng Yao always loved branded clothes, but could never afford to buy them. He adds that she told him that she always worked and saved money to buy a dress from Chennai. But after the zombie outbreak happened, she was unable to buy and now her dream has not come true. Cheng Yao's body lies on the sofa as if sleeping. The main character says that if he is not mistaken, the chairman is wearing this dress. He turns to her and says that now that she is dead, he thinks it would be nice to put her in the dress she dreamed of. A drop of sweat runs down the chairman's cheek. The main character says that she sacrificed her life for her and won't she sacrifice her dress. The protagonist asks Zhen Bingyang to undress right here, and the girl is surprised by these words. She screams and asks the main character if he really wants to humiliate her. The main character with a gloomy look tells her that she just said that he can do whatever he wants with her, and then asks her if she doesn't regret what happened. The girl trembles, and the main character says that this is why he hates most people like her, who are self-confident in the fact that they are successful people, namely people who succeed in society, and enjoy the fact that they truly consider themselves omnipotent. A drop of sweat runs down Zhen Bingyan's face. The main character tells the girl that she is actually selfish and hypocritical, and when it comes to her vital interests, she shows her true colors. He adds that she is responsible for the lives of other people who worked with her, and they are just trash in front of her. He says that only this fool called the chairman a good and responsible person, but in fact she is worth nothing. The chairman says that the main character is right and she considers herself better than everyone else. She imagines high-rise buildings with offices and says that in this rotten society, a girl does not want to bow to a man. She wants to make her career on her own. She adds that she did this without ever giving in to anyone, never respecting other people. She believed that she was doing everything right. Zhen Bingyang trembles and says that there is something more important in her heart than this. She says that she has never experienced such humiliation since childhood, but today she is ready to accept it because she wants to prove that she is not the person he is talking about. The main character listens to her. The chairman, with a serious expression on his face, tells the main character to remember what he promised her. The girl unbuttons her dress. The main character sits calmly on a chair. The chairman trembles and takes off his dress. The protagonist tells the girl to leave. Zhen Bingyang looks at the main character with tear-stained eyes. The main character says that if her humiliation would bring Cheng Yao back to life, he would humiliate her 100 times. But this is impossible. The chairman clenched her teeth in anger. She turns towards the exit. The girl opens the door and the main character tells her to tell her people that he will be in the conference room in half an hour and will help them. The chairman makes a surprised expression and asks the main character if he will help them. The main character clasps his hands on his lap and says that he is doing this for Cheng Yao and no matter how much he hates the chairman, she always wanted to protect her. He adds that she can live in exchange for her life because he does not want her to die in vain. The girl has a sad expression on her face. The protagonist tells the girl to leave before he changes his mind. Her face is covered in shadow. She leaves the room with the main character. Zhao Tianlei moves closer to the corpse of the blue-haired girl. He tells her with a sad expression that she will be very upset if he doesn't help them, but he doesn't know if they will become his burden. He tells her that she knows how important she is to him. Light is reflected from the ring on the protagonist's hand. The protagonist says that despite the fact that he was chosen as a virtual god, he was afraid of this outbreak and the zombies themselves, which is why he often felt fear and anxiety, not knowing what would happen tomorrow. He strokes the murdered girl and tells her that she was always with him, encouraging him, giving him courage and making him believe in himself. He thanks the girl and apologizes for not being able to save her. The main character lifts her from the sofa. He takes her to another place. He puts her on the floor on the balcony and says that he will continue on his way. He pours alcohol on her and tells her not to worry because he won't make her worry about him. The main character throws a lit lighter into gasoline. The lighter ignites the gasoline and the flame ignites. The girl's body is enveloped in flames. The main character looks at her sadly. He thought that she would always be in his heart and he would never forget her. The protagonist goes to the exit. The spacious room receives some sunlight. The main character and his comrades stand in front of the chairman and her people. The chairman tells the protagonist that he says he has a way to get them out of here safely, and then asks if this is true. Lee Zioang tells the main character that after that siren there are probably a lot of zombies in the building, and now the situation is even more unfavorable than before. The main character addresses the fat man. The tied-up fat man asks the main character what he is going to do. The protagonist grabs Yamada from behind. The fat man asks to let him go because he is a famous person and the protagonist will regret this. The main character tells the fat man not to worry because he will not kill him but will simply take him with him. The fat man has a surprised expression on his face. The main character with a serious look puts his hand on the fat man's shoulder and tells him that he must behave well.